Annie.
And here we are, looking at that Azir deck list one more time. We've seen him before, but we're seeing it again. It was a fantastic list that we've seen work to perfection. It's all about timing, it's all about those gear, and it's all about managing resources and not units.
No, I think we've certainly had enough time for production to make that sand counter at this point, right?
Yeah,
it's
come on, guys.
I know, it's not a real thing. Anyway, we've got Prismat's Annie deck here. We see the Rek'Sai, we see the Rengar. I mean, cards that we haven't necessarily seen. We certainly have not seen in the limelight, but they work so well with Annie being such a hyper-aggressive deck, and Rengar working particularly good with Annie because you can effectively play it for 1 energy and 1 power if you're able to use that extra energy on your turn and ready those runes with Annie. So very, very strong deck. Looks reminiscent, of course, of the mid-range Draven, but with a lot of additional and different tools that people are just not ready for because it's Annie.
Bringing the unexpected can be such a powerful utilization in this game, and we're absolutely seeing that right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it is running so many Chew Drops. It's running the Noxus Hopefuls. It's, of course, got stacked deck, Rebukes. I mean, it has all of that interaction that you would expect to see in a Chaos Fury deck, but it also has, you know, I think the number of times that I saw in scrims and in testing Prismat play that Rengar, and people are like, oh yeah, that's right, there's just a +5 that can come out of nowhere. I forgot about that. I know that now, but I have to imagine that that just gave many, many wins that people just weren't expecting because, okay, I can play around a +3 and a +2 or +. I'm not playing around +5 that also has a body there. It's just such a good card. Also, don't bother rebuking the Rengar because it will come right back down.
Rengar pouncing is quite right.
Absolutely.
The name is very apt. When you are unprepared, it will pounce. And unfortunately, that clearly has happened a lot in this event, and we saw it earlier today, and I'm sure we might get a chance to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw it in the little clips. We saw it in the little clips right before this, the clips of Prismat's game where setting up these combats where they have a lot of energy up, and usually that's Aurelia's game plan, to have a lot of energy up and have these combat tricks. And he's like, no, I've got a bunch as well. I've got Longsword, I've got Hard Bargain, I've got Rengar, I've got all of these cards that are just so good and are able to be played in combat in a deck that's not usually doing a lot of combat manipulation like that. Not anymore. It used to have Fighter Flights. It does have Rebuke, but that. Yeah, it's not the same, right? You're not expecting that angle of attack like Rengar and like Cleave can, because that kind of fell out of favor a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. These unforgotten cards gone by that actually are still really powerful. And, you know, in this instance, this Annie aggro deck isn't going to have the surprise element as much as we've known before, because obviously Pedro is going to know what's in this deck this time round. So actually they do have that opportunity to look at the deck lists. So they are going to know what could come up, but it's all well and good seeing something written on a page, but do you remember what it does? Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a poor memory, and I do not remember the differences between the different Rengar cards. Like, I wouldn't know off the top of my head if I was reading it just on a piece of paper, because it had been that long. Before this event, before I was like, oh my gosh, look at this Annie list, wowza. I didn't remember what it did. I'm going to be honest. Yeah.
Well, no, and it really hasn't seen a lot of play, even though the Spearforged card has not seen a ton of play. I think a lot of people have looked at it and considered it, and it is a really cool card. We did see it played a little bit in China, but honestly not much outside of that. And it's not necessarily hitting the breakpoints or is efficient enough to be played in a lot of decks. But Annie, it makes so much sense. You can spend your energy on your turn. As long as you have 1 left up, you'll ready 2 runes, and that's 3. Rengar's a reaction. You can play it on your opponent's turn, and you're effectively gaining that extra 2 energy, and you can actually put it into stats that impact the board. That is really, really strong.
As if Annie didn't need another excuse to be more aggressive with their play style, and here we are giving them another good reason to be. And I'm honestly pleasantly surprised by this deck list, but I'm also I'm also surprised. I'm surprised I haven't seen this before. I'm surprised this took me by surprise.
Right.
And I'm happy about it. I got to say, I'm really excited to see how this matchup plays out because I haven't seen this Annie before now.
Right.
I haven't seen how it might interact with Seer.
Yeah.
Is it aggressive enough to deal with that many units? Because although we have lots of aggression, we have lots of ways to defeat, we're equally going up against a potentially lot of Sand Soldiers, which have adaptable stats.
Right. Yeah, and certainly this is a matchup that if I didn't know Prismat personally and didn't know just how extensive their testing can be, I would say probably both of these players have not played against their respective matchups very much. However, I do know Prismat, and I do know how extensive their testing is. I would almost guarantee that they have reps into Azir. Now, was it a player of Pedro's caliber playing Azir? Was it their build? I mean, almost impossible to say. So they do get to see the list. Like you said, it's one thing seeing it on a piece of paper. It's another thing seeing it in the hands of a top 4 level competitor. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to their fundamentals. It's going to come down to what preparation they've had. Obviously, both of these players have played absolutely spectacularly so far. They've both got best of medal cards that they can take home regardless, but they want to win. I know Prismat. I've known Prismat for a long time across many games. Prismat does not care about consolation prizes. Prismat was bummed when they were handed the best of Draven. I know this for a fact. We were talking about it backstage. They were bummed when they were handed the best of Draven because they had just lost in the top 8. This means everything to both of these players as we are getting into our top 4. Prismaticism on the Annie, Pedro on the Azir.
They're just having a last little look at those lists. An important time for both of them. We're trying to remember what counts are in each other's decks so that they can play around them. And this is another skill in and of itself that we don't get a lot of time to practice quite often.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, you don't really have to prep open deck list a lot because unless you're top 8ing in RQ or above, you're probably not playing open deck list. However, it is a very important thing to do when you are at that point. But we're jumping on into game number 1. Hall of Legends on the side of Pedro, the Seat of Power over for Annie. Now, we saw Seat of Power actually on the side of both players, so this is one that is certainly going to benefit Pedro as well.
Let's see if we get set up in the way that we want. Going for those mulligans, incredibly important to mulligan if you don't have the ideal start. We can mulligan up to 2 cards. And yep, well, Azir doing what Azir does best. We've made a gear and a Sand Soldier on your first turn. I say that's pretty good.
Yep, that's the way you want to do it for sure. Get those Sand Soldiers ready to roll. And of course, being able to get that initial tempo going, get that might on the board, get those battlefields conquered where you need, especially with the Seat of Power, because if you're able to start conquering faster, you're going to be able to draw those extra cards. This is a, this has certainly been a reveal party for Seat of Power. I don't know if I saw the card played very much at all before this event, but with the opening up of battlefields, we've seen such a diversity.
And honestly, I'm all for it. I don't know about you, but I'm so pleased that we've been able to see diversity in the battlefields that everyone's choosing. And obviously, there are a lot more out there than I think a lot of people give them credit for. There's a lot that kind of, they have this reputation for being good and or bad, but actually, I think that a lot more have kind of potential, more potential than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's certainly ones that, and I think we're still as a community really figuring out the formula for how to utilize battlefields best. There's a lot that are definitely more playable than we think, but it's also, how are we actually choosing to use these battlefields? Do we have one that we always lead on? Do we have one that we use when we go first? Do we have one that we use when we go second? That was sort of my basic playbook for how I started to understand choosing battlefields. But I think that it even goes matchup to matchup. Like this is my lead against this deck. This is my going first if X, Y, Z has happened. So I think there is a lot. There's a absolutely massive amount that can go into battlefield choice, and really we're just beginning to scratch the surface of it.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. That is the be-all and end-all, really, is that battlefields are strong, but are they going to benefit our opponent too much? In this instance, both battlefields are good for both players, so I'd say that's pretty even. Our stack deck choice has been made, and we've been able to once again cherry pick a Noxus Hopeful, and we get that nice Legion effect, so it only costs 2.
Yeah, one of the really one of the best starts that you can have as Annie, that stack deck, as a 1-cost card. Of course, that Noxus Hopeful being the most amount of might that you can get for 2 energy for the most part, at least out of a single card right now. So you really want to have that to be able to contest what Azir is going to be doing here.
We got another gear. We got another Sand Soldier. Azir doing what Azir does best. And now we're going to be looking at whether it's worthwhile dipping our toe into the Hall of Legends, which it is. You can actually, when you conquer there, you can pay 1 to ready the legend, and then you can jump back out if you want to be safe. Which is, I really like that effect for Pedro here, so it feels pretty strong.
Yeah, if you're able to actually have the energy for it, you can make 2 Sand Soldiers on a turn if you've played a gear there, but obviously did not have the energy to do it in this case. But now Prismat going to see, are they going to go for that open battlefield, or are they going to try to contest? Nope, just going to take the Seed of Power there, go for that first point, and take it from there.
Gotta try and keep toe in toe. The pressure is on. Kai'Sa's coming in. Is she accelerated? Yeah. Oh, no,
well,
no, just being
she's not
played.
accelerated,
No,
just played to the battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah, in with
We're
that
gonna hold.
Noxus Hopeful.
These are the types of things where, you know, if I picked up this deck and just played it without talking or testing, the chances I make that play are near 0. And maybe that's a reflection of me, but my brain does not function in the way that I'm thinking, oh, I want to play this defensive Kai'Sa on a battlefield without accelerating it and not drawing a card. That is just practice and knowing the matchup, knowing the deck at such a level, and that's what Prismaticism's doing here.
Prismaticism has been through every single scenario, and you can tell this is top level play. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing into Pedro's deck, and they're making this big defensive wall on this one battlefield for hopefully some consistent hold points.
Absolutely. Protect that Seed of Power. You know, you don't want Azir to be drawing a bunch of cards. That is really not a place you want to be in.
Whoa!
Oh, the aggressive hold Annie deck. Is this the world that we're living in right now? It looks like it might just be, as the Fairest Forerunner comes down and is really defending that Seed of Power, or at least allowing the Kai'Sa to potentially back out here.
14 currently on that Seat of Power. They want that seat. That's their seat.
This is where I'm sitting.
No one else will take it from me. My first Forerunner, Kai'Sa, and Noxus Hopeful say so. And for at least now, everyone is staying in there, making sure that we're building that right up. No Sand Soldiers are going to be able to touch that in a while.
Yep, and Prismat really just deciding whether or not they want to move the Kai'Sa. They say, no, we're going to ready the 2 runes there and pass it back over to Pedro, who is got a nice little Sand Soldier army down there. 3 equipment in play, a lot of energy as well, and 3 points to boot.
And here we go. We're starting the fray. First Sand Soldier goes to challenge that Seat of Power. Going to just trade with the Kai'Sa. Obviously, the BF Sword goes back into base. We get to keep that around. And that's the nice thing about these Sand Soldiers, is that they're expendable. You can just throw them into a situation to allow yourself to soften up the aggression from your opponent.
Absolutely. You're able to, you know, especially when you can cascade these equipment, that really gets to be a strong play. And there we go, Desert's Call. That's not 1, but 2 more Sand Soldiers coming in with Blade Master if you so choose.
Ring, ring, who's there? Desert's calling.
And Prismat is trying to put them on hold, but unfortunately not something that they're able to do, just allowing those Sand Soldiers to come into play in the back line and pick up a piece of equipment if they so desire.
And adding another one into Hall of Legends, just adding extras in there. Kind of feels like they've both gone, no, I want this one, I want this one. They're sharing right now, which isn't really what we do in Riftbound. We don't share the battlefields. So at some point, we're going to have to start making some aggressive plays. Who will be the aggressor? You naturally would think Annie. So we have hidden a card there for Pedro.
Yeah, this is the really funny thing that can happen when in high level where, you know, both players are trying to jockey for position. They're trying to not overcommit, and the game really slows down for both players where, oh, I don't really want to conquer. I'm giving my opponent enough credit here to not to have an answer. So I'm just gonna set up here. I'm gonna hold. Pedro says this is fine. I'm technically ahead on point tempo right now. If we just keep passing the turn, I'm gonna win before you are. So you need to do something first.
Exactly. You're forcing your opponent's hand. You've got to at some point. There has to be more than this. You can't just carry on with this pace of us sharing these battlefields. But for now, we're going to continue building that wall. Kais is in base and booting it back over to Pedro.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both players really just, okay, how much might can I get into play without spending any power? How many resources can I develop to have at my disposal when the ultimate turn happens that we need to make that first move?
It's going to be an explosive showdown.
It's going to be a crazy, it's almost certainly going to be an absolutely crazy turn when that happens because, you know, both players, I think, see the writing on the wall. We're going to keep passing. No player sees a good opportunity necessarily. Maybe I speak too soon. A Sand Soldier is going in. That is an on guard as well.
Okay.
To try to get some material off of the board of Prismat.
Is this just an attempt at softening up that battlefield again, or are we going all the way? That's what Prismaticism is going to be thinking about in whether they try any tricks to keep all of their units around, or whether they just kind of let the Azir just soften this up a little bit with the Sand Soldier. But it looks like we're considering jumping back at that Defy. Is it worth the resources? That begs the question.
Yeah, it's really, what is your end game plan here? What are you trying to do here? We do see a flash on the side of Prismat. They may want to get their non-Forerunner units out of harm's way, trade the first half of Forerunner for a Sand Soldier, get the 2 mechs, go from there. Or, you know, they may just say, okay, let this happen. You know, let Pedro take out a couple of these units and then see what happens from there. But it looks like we may be committing a card here.
We're 7 to 12 power currently on Seat of Power. The pressure is intense.
Yeah, the might trackers are amazing, but only if you look at the right one. I was looking at the Hall of Legends, so actually, yes, this flash potentially could just be getting 2 units out and just throwing away, not even killing a Sand Soldier, which is going to cause a conquer point up to 5, which is going to draw a card from the Seat of Power. So these are all things that are being considered right now by Prismat, and the implications of any one of these plays needs to be thought of.
That's the problem. The damage is too much, so actually it does then become a problem. So we are going to go for the flash, seeing if Pedro has an answer, or whether, yeah, we're going to bring the Noxus Hopeful.
Okay, looks like chose to flash just the Hopeful.
We're going to on guard again just to take out both, but we will get the 2 mech tokens.
Yep.
And Pedro goes up to 5 points from the Conquer.
Yeah, that is a Conquer. That's going to be a draw from the Seat of Power. But now we do have quite a bit of might in the backline for Prismat here. So they're going to be able to put forth at least somewhat of an attack. We'll see what they're able to do.
Pedro managing to poke through all of those huge units just using a single Sand Soldier is incredibly impressive. Going for another Desert's Call here. We've got so many guys on that speed dial. Just getting another couple of Sand Soldiers in on this. One in base and one there at the seat of power. Doesn't really want to allow Prismaticism to take that back with ease. So at least going to present a bit of a tussle by allowing some Sand Soldiers to remain on there. Currently at what, 3, 6, is at 9 power on there at the moment. We're moving a gear across, going to bump that up even more, trying to keep it kind of level on both of the battlefields here, which begs the question kind of which one does Prismaticism start to try to buckle first?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tough. And one key difference here between Draven and Annie is that Azir is able to make these combats happen. And even if they happen to lose a combat, lose a Sand Soldier, they're at least not feeding a card over to the Annie. But we are, of course, seeing Prismat with only a few cards in hand, even though they've won a few combats here. Gonna have to try to make something happen, as there is a lot of might on the side of the Azir.
Not only is there a lot of might, there's gear, physical units. The bodies on the board right now are in the troves. They truly have made a Sand Soldier army to present against the aggression that an Annie deck presents. And now Prismaticism is in a position where they're going to have to split their units potentially, because their deck doesn't have a lot of versatility when it comes to kind of being able to gank or being able to move from battlefield to battlefield. So we might have to chip away at these separately. And then there's those pesky hidden cards. And obviously they've seen the deck list. They probably know what's coming. But it's also just sometimes a bit of a mind game.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that they can be, at least, it could be Hidden Blade, it could also be guards. This is also a hidden card, and yes, again, does have the exclamation mark in the text, so I am legally obliged to yell it like that. It's just the rules.
It's true. We checked while we were backstage.
Yeah,
so,
we checked with the legal team, and they said the police were on their way if I didn't scream it. So sorry, folks. Has to happen.
So it's just about whether he can dismantle this board. There's a lot of thinking going on, and honestly, I respect it, because this is crunch time. These are the moments that really matter, and this is what sets our players apart from everyone else. They are just anticipating every possible scenario. They're going through it. They're running through the stats in their head. They're doing the math on this board. We have little trackers. They don't. They got to do it in their heads. I'd be looking at this going, where do I even start? Right.
Well, Prismat says, I am going to start with an Annie from the Chosen Champ Zone and into a stacked deck.
Annie's stubborn. She's a familiar face. And not one that we love to see, to be honest, because she can be rather a big nuisance.
Yeah, she's going to be able to get a stacked deck back. Imagine we did cast a stacked deck. Not sure what was off of the top. Maybe a cleave. Looks like it was a cleave.
Yeah, looks like it.
So
that's going to help.
Yeah, we've got a Rengar and a cleave. That is threatening up to 8 here. Now, how does that change the math? Because it's not just 8 coming in at once. It can be staggered. It can be across multiple battlefields. It can be across multiple combats potentially. So really, Prismat is figuring out what is the best way to make it as awkward as possible for Pedro to do these blocks here.
Right, we're cleaving on our mechs, and we're going to just poke away at that seat of power to begin with. See if Pedro has any reactions. See if we're going to play that hidden card, and it's...
Okay, it's Hidden Blade on their own unit here.
Ooh, okay. We saw that before. We've seen it in We've seen it in combat before. We've seen it again. It's a great utilization of being able to take out your own unit so you can draw some cards. And that's just going to help in these combat situations. Prismaticism has managed to just take that board down a tick by poking in with the mechs. And Pedro was like, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted, actually. I want to draw some more cards and further my advancement of this game that way instead. And now Prismaticism is having a little poke there at Hall of Legends, which I imagine is going to have a bit more pushback.
Yeah, it might, but also Pedro can just say okay at this point.
Yeah.
Prismat is not threatening to win. If they can cause some favorable trades, I think Pedro might just be fine with it, even if they, you know, are able to use a hidden card. Yeah, Pedro says just that, says, yeah, let's just let this happen.
Now, Kaiser, you can go on in next. Everyone's forming an orderly line to go and have a look in the Hall of Legends.
Yep. And there it is. Guards!
And there they are. Here they come. We're going to, yep, Weapons Master, equip.
Yes.
BF Sword.
Indeed.
As well.
That is big, and it looks like I am imagining that was just looking at the top cards of the deck to see what they were going to draw, but that is going to be it. Game number 1 going to Pedro with Azir.
Azir showing that numbers do matter. Every single Sand Soldier was so fearsome, and it is because it's like a build your own army. It really is being able to put those building blocks together and make the perfect scenario from scratch.
Absolutely, and we see the sideboards here. Facebreaker, another possible card that can come in as a sideboard option. Salvage, probably not going to be doing it. Call the Week could be decent, though generally not great against the deck. We're not great against decks that have a lot of small units, not great against decks that have Ferris Forerunner, and, well, Annie has both.
Defy, maybe?
Defy, I think, definitely is an option there, as, of course, the a lot more combat tricks in this deck than you would see in others, but Thermo Beam definitely being a big one that Prismat might want to bring in.
Yeah, Thermo Beam, even Factory Recall, just putting all of that extensive gear disruption into the deck to prevent them from being able to continue. And I think that's it. We could have carried on with that game, right? Or we can say, I'm going to look at those cards. Yeah, no, I'm losing this. I'm going to forfeit that. And I'm going to side deck now so that I have a better chance of winning. I'm going to save my mental arithmetic skills for in a minute. I don't want to get worn out. I need a little break. And then also, I'm going to get that side decking all done nicely. And it's an important factor between these games, doing your side decking, and it's a skill that I think makes a pro player shine. I think it's genuinely one of the most tough skills to learn in Riftbound, knowing not only what cards to put in your sideboard, but also knowing how to change those between matchups, for which matchup, and how likely you are to see those cards as well.
Right. It absolutely is. And again, we talked about it. I don't know that both of these players have, they certainly, I can say with almost 100% certainty, neither of these players has tested against each other's decks as much as they did for a lot of the other decks in this event. These are both relative underdogs in terms of tournaments, in terms of this tournament, the deck at least. So certainly not the most easy. Oh, yep, I know exactly what my Annie or my Azir matchup is not necessarily that. As we take a look at the trophy, at that Blade of the Ruined King, beautiful trophy card and playmat there in the middle of the stage. This is what these players are playing for, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
I love the way they present that card as well. It's not just giving you a little card in a sleeve. It's no, this is the champion card. Yeah. That is a prestigious trophy in and of itself.
Right. It's just the one thing I found with that card is that it's really hard to shuffle into your deck.
It is
in the case, and I'm definitely not taking it out. So
no,
I don't know what do I have to like call it judge or something, or you know what? I'll figure that out when I win a regional qualifier. I'll figure out what to do with the trophy case and the card. I definitely want to play in my deck.
Definitely, yes. You'll have to figure that one out on the fly. But for now, our competitors are both just inches away from that trophy and those prizes, but still in the fray of trying to earn them for themselves. As our crowd out there, I see some familiar faces, and we are all so excited to be here. We've got the bustling in the hall already. Everyone is genuinely buzzed right now and excited to see who's going to take the crown. We're in top 4 right now at the regional qualifier in Lille.
Yep, absolutely. As the players are finishing up a sideboarding here, finalizing those sideboards. You know, I think even if you had a game plan into Azir as Prismat, and even if you had a game plan into Annie as Pedro, I don't necessarily know that those notes that you had from before this tournament apply to this very game. And that's because I think both of these players are such high level that you really can't necessarily say that, oh, this is how I thought this matchup was going to play out, where both players sort of turn into this pseudo control hold deck and I'm just building up resources into one big attack. I don't know if that's how the matchup is drawn out. It happened in that game, and I imagine that both players were on the same wavelength for how that played out, but that may actually be changing what they are trying to do going into this next game.
I imagine both players were kind of making mental notes throughout that game to think about how the next one's going to go based on their opponent's playstyle. Because even if I'm prepared, let's say I'm playing Azir and I'm like, oh, I know my Annie matchup. Well, do I know my Annie matchup when it's Annie aggro with Rengar, with Rek'Sai, with, you know, extra flash and cleaves? Like, do I know it? No, I don't, because that isn't maybe something that I've prepared for this exact deck list, but also an incredible player playing that deck list, and also someone who can remember how I played in game 1, adapt and play in game 2. And that's why we've seen a lot of these games go to a third game, is because people learn, adapt, and then bring that into another match. And that's exactly how these guys grow, is that they learn from every single showdown.
Yeah, and I certainly only have the Downwell Annie matchup sideboard notes ready, so I'd be completely out of sorts here. I practiced against the wrong Annie. I practiced against the meme deck instead of the real deck, but no, certainly, even if you're, of course, testing against the, you know, quote-unquote default Annie, I don't even know what you would consider that. I mean, at this point, you would consider it what Prismat is playing right now, but that's because of this event. Not necessarily going into this event was everyone on a list like this. So certainly new ground, certainly really a fun place to be in the world of Riftbound in this whole new set 2.5 meta.
It's a wonderful place to be. I'm enjoying my time here. I hope you are too. Our Annie and Azir matchup. We had Hall of Legends and Seat of Power for game 1. I'm curious of which battlefield each player will pick next. I don't think they have any, no, they don't have any overlapping, so we're not going to see the same ones come out. But I'm not seeing any kind of, I don't think any of the battlefields for either of them feel bad for either of them.
No, not at all. I think that, you know, Arena's Greatest and Zon Warren's are relatively similar depending on who is going first. I think if Prismat is going first, he's likely going to go Arena's Greatest, so I would think that he's likely on that for this game. And then Trifarian Warcamp is not bad for Annie, but it's certainly a bit better for Azir. And then Seat of Power, of course, is in both their decks, so Seat of Power is almost a completely neutral battlefield as both players are bringing it. But let's see. It looks like the players have shuffled up and presented as we are getting into game number 2, Azir, Emperor of Sands versus Annie, Darkchild, Pedro versus Prismaticism.
Looking like an interesting starting hand there. We've got Seat of Power and the Arena Greatest. Like I said, we're not going to have a matching, but we did have one from a previous round. We've got that Seat of Power back again. I wonder if we're going to be fighting over who's sitting in that this time.
Yep, absolutely. So the game is going to start off with both players at 1 point here. And guards!
Thank you.
There it is.
I was like, it wasn't. I'm not practiced enough. They won't come if I ask. It's got to be you.
We're eventually going to get the whole crowd yelling guards when guards gets played. I know that's going to happen.
Maybe I'll give it a go next time. We've got a tide turner, of course. Prismaticism just starting off that rampage, going up to 2 points, nice and early on. Let's see if they can play anything else. Just the Kai'Sa and passing. And of course, from that fantastic ability, we are going to have 2 still standing at the end regardless.
Yeah, when you play it in the way that Prismat does, it just looks like the Kai'Sa only costs 2 energy, and you go, how in the world is this fair?
That was so cheap. What's going on? It's like, no, don't worry.
So good.
We got this.
We've got the on guard here going in to try to take out that tide turn to get that 2nd point of the game. And now, is this something that Prismat wants to fight over? Not necessarily fight over, wants to protect that tide turn or keep that material alive. And that's going to be a point there for Pedro. That is another Sand Soldier from the eye of our good friend Harold. And looks like that might be a pass of the turn.
Both players accelerating into 2 points each already. Feels like we only just started and already right into the thick of it. Prismaticism making great use of that timing, hopefully being able to outpace Pedro this time. If Pedro doesn't have enough time to build up those Sand Soldiers, then Prismaticism's might will be overwhelming in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And now needs to see what does Prismat think that Pedro might have. It's a lone Sand Soldier at 2, but does not want to send the Kai'Sa in to battle it, just wants to take a trade. And are we setting up camp again? Is the Forerunner going to go and try to protect that Kai'Sa? We shall see. It looks like the answer is yes.
We have a winner. Absolutely correct. Ferris Forerunner once again being just the chunkiest unit you could ever imagine. And even when it gets taken down, then more little guys just spawn up in your base and you get 2, 3 power mech tokens, which basically, if you smash them together, it's another Ferris Forerunner.
Yeah, he's not chunky. He's just big mech. He's got big mechs.
We've got the BF sword, and guess what? We're going to give that a Sand Soldier.
Yep.
You get a Sand Soldier, and you get a Sand Soldier, but only if you have a gear, and then more gear gets a Sand Soldier.
Yeah, it's I get a Sand Soldier, and I get a Sand Soldier, and I get a Sand Soldier. Yeah, it's only Pedro. There's no Sand Soldiers for Prismaticism in this case.
Oh, that would be a twist.
Yes, you mentioned all of those gear on the side of Pedro, but that is a Thermo Beam in the hand of Prismat, so that may be coming down on a key turn, but in this case, it is just a development of a Kai'Sa in the backline, a Noxus hopeful on that Seat of Power. We are in this hold game, and in this case, Prismat is actually ahead on the point tempo here, getting that 4th point before Pedro does.
Pedro is now going to need to really amp up the pace. Do we have the resources to do so this early on? We do have a fair few Sand Soldiers. We've got 2 gear in play thus far, but not a lot going on in the hand, unfortunately. Wow, that's not looking great. A couple of Discipline and a Rise. We've got kind of spells that can help us in combat, but nothing that can help us make more Sand Soldiers other than our champion unit and then our legend ability.
Yeah, we could cash in the Arise now just to make a bunch of units, but again,
it's only 2, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not super great right now. I mean, this is a common issue with the Azir deck, is the other half of deck problem, where it really wants to draw a pretty even mix of spells and equipment, but if you draw all of one or the other, it really does start to hurt, and it looks like that is a little bit what Pedro has run into in this case, but is still able to develop the Azir and pass the turn.
Still a very respectable turn. Lots of units going on there. We managed to get a recruit. We've got Azir. We have still control of our battlefield. So not going bad, but there's a lot of might going on Prismat's board right now, and it's going to start getting a little fishy when we jump into combat.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if is this the turn that we fire off a thermo beam to try to get rid of those equipment. I think you can have a pretty good read that there aren't more equipment in hand. Almost certainly any one that they would have been played last turn with a Sand Soldier as well. It seems quite unlikely that they would have opted not to play that and instead play the Azir. So I think you can get the read that there aren't any equipment. So if you're able to resolve a thermo beam here, that may be all the equipment that Azir has for the rest of the game.
That could be genuinely terrifying. Having that arise in hand and then having your equipment burned away by a thermo beam.
Right.
Oh, that would be awful. But again, it's knowing those tells, and it's whether the timing is right. Do we get into combat? We're on 5 points, so we've got to kind of keep pushing ahead. We've got a little while to go yet before we can call a win, so we've at least got a couple more turns of this game to go.
Yeah, we're certainly in the tank here for Prismat, deciding, is this time to fire off the thermal beam? Should I wait until a later turn? What happens if they arise next turn? Does it matter? I think these are all the things that we are talking about here as Prismat, and really seeing how many cards are in hand. That's to figure out, what kind of combat tricks do they have? What's the chance they have a Defy? What are the chances that, have Wind Wall, something like that? That is a card that can certainly stop the thermo beam, and there are 2 in the sideboard, so certainly in the range of cards that could be in Pedro's hand. How bad is it if a thermo beam gets wind walled? These are all the questions that are being asked by Prismat to himself right now.
You've got to take everything into consideration, because the timing is key. We've got about 2 more turns before this could potentially be all over, before this could be a victory for Prismat. So really, every single card needs to be played with conviction.
Yeah, there needs to be a purpose for all of them. There is that Nox is hopeful. We've got a Gust, which can be quite good. Better off in combat, though, if you can use it as a surprise, and really just figuring out what is the game plan, how do we execute it, and what tools do we need to be able to execute it.
We've got a lot of might and base. We could go ahead and challenge the other battlefield while there isn't a lot kind of going on. We could potentially start to pick units apart and then go for thermo beam when we kind of just have already dismantled. Maybe Pedro won't worry about Sand Soldiers being taken out before thermo beam. So if you take out some Sand Soldiers, Pedro might not react and just be like, yeah, okay, I'll save my resources. They can go because I can arise them.
Right.
Then thermo beam the equipment, and then oopsie daisy, no sand.
Right, no sand whatsoever, and no follow-up sand either. But it's not even just a matter of, do I want to play these cards this turn? It's a matter of, what order do I do them in? When do I do them in relation to attacking? What can I try to bait out? What am I looking to bait out? Am I going to be able to? These are all things that Prismat is considering, and the consideration is led to all 3 of the units in base, at the very least, being picked up and examined by Prismat. A very methodical player.
Might stamp their way into the arena greatest. But first up, we're going to bring Annie in from our champion zone. We're going to flash.
Oh, flash to try to get the units at the seat of power back into base. Are we making a complete alpha attack right now?
It might be, honestly. We might be trying to bring them back and just overwhelm, take down as many units as possible, and keep Pedro on the back foot. The way that Pedro won last game was just being overwhelming with the amount of units. And I guess if we can limit that, then how's he going to string together a similar win?
Right. This is another one of those plays where, like, the chances that I make the line that Prismat made here, it's got to be close to 0% that I make in this play. So it's either genius or it is crazy, or it certainly could be both. And I think that we've got a little bit of all categories here with Prismat, and we're starting with the Ferris Forerunner coming in and wanting to trade off for some sand here.
This is one of the mechanics that I really love about Riftbound. Combat isn't a stage. Combat is whenever you would like to invite one of your ready units into a battlefield. You can have multiple instances of showdowns instead of a combat phase, which I really enjoy. I think it's a really great way to do a combat style where we're having a showdown every single time a unit chooses to go in there on a separate occasion.
Right.
Discipline comes in to chonkify the might on Azir's side and make it a little bit tougher. But I don't know if Ferris Forerunner necessarily, was going in with the intention of taking them all out. It was just so that they knew which Sand Soldier was sticking around.
Yep, absolutely. Wanted to keep the equipment still on the battlefield, I think, is the biggest thing here.
And now we're probably looking to push in with more units. The pump spell that we've used will remain, the Discipline, but any damage done kind of goes away. They just put a plaster on, and then they're ready for the next time that units come on in to say, hey.
Absolutely. Now, Prismat deciding, do they want to attack here? How much are they going to attack? How many, on guards or disciplines are they willing to play around here? They attack with just 2 Kaisas. A single pump spell stops that. If they attack with the Noxus Hopeful, that covers a wide range. If they attack with all of these units, that probably covers most of it, if I had to guess.
I would say so.
Are we going back to defend?
The choices are genuinely the most difficult that I have seen across our series so far this weekend here in Lille. It is top 4. We got to be playing to our best. Another Discipline. This Sand Soldier's humongous for a Sand Soldier, I should say. Up to 9 to 14. So we're going to take both Kaisa and then allow that Sand Soldier to crumble.
The little Sand Soldier that could take out 2 Kaisas is the story of that combat, but we do get to that 6th point there for Prismat. Not a ton of resources on the side of Pedro, but this is a bit scary. There's 9 might left in the back of the battle, or of the back of the base here for Prismat. 6 left, almost stranded on that Arita's Greatest, so they are able to potentially threaten to win next turn, but are they going to have enough might to actually do so?
We'll have to see whether Pedro is going to put up enough of a fight with these remaining units to stop Prismat from taking that win. We're now playing not to lose. We need to make sure that we're at least putting up some units in that top battlefield.
Yep, absolutely. We see that arising. Now we see a good amount of equipment here on the side of Pedro. A lot of energy as well, so they could potentially have multiple equipments played plus an Arise, and that is really going to put quite a few Sand Soldiers into play. But yeah, I think for the most part, Prismat is willing to take this sacrifice here. They are going to try to win on the backswing. I don't necessarily need to stop this attack right here.
Whether they choose to stop this attack could be the pivotal point. The Thermo Beam comes down!
Oh, there it is, of course. Thermo Beam coming out, but there is Death Grip coming in. Going to be used in response to keep that might on to a unit. Transfer the might from one unit to another.
So the might sticks around. The gear still goes. Those have been fizzled with the Thermo Beam. But this recruit did have the extra now to take down the Tide Turner that moved in.
Yeah, and absolutely massive. I mean, that happens before the Arise that is in hand. Now, of course, there are still more equipment
We're going to have to get them down. We're going to have to play that eye because we need to start rebuilding the board now. Can't let Prismat just take the game next turn, so we're going to need to start rebuilding from here. We do have 2 ready units, so, you know, we can just sneak into both battlefields, but is that going to be enough? No.
Not right now. It certainly isn't, but it's going to be about, can they get 2 battlefields here and then also be able to defend against the 9 might on the side of Prismat, plus any other shenanigans that they may have from hand. Of course, we know there are Rengars, there are Cleaves, there are a lot of other units as well, potentially, or other combat tricks as well that can be quite scary. We're going to draw a card from the Seat of Power and go from there.
See all of the options available to us this turn. See what we can use to further our cause, to protect our units, so that we're able to win on our next turn. Both players at this point are going to be trying to not only score points themselves, but also stop one another.
Absolutely looking to stop one another for sure. I mean, again, it's about getting to those even point swings, but when your opponent has gotten there first, you need to be able to stop your opponent from winning. And now looks like we are spreading the love here. Going to have a couple of battlefields with some amount of defenses on them. We've got the Azir on the one. We've got 2 recruits, not Sand Soldiers, on the other. We're going to make another Sand Soldier here. Where is that one going? Going to stay in the base, actually.
And move either Herald on there. We had Brutalizer now on one of those recruits. I'm just building this board. I like having the Sand Soldier in base as well. It's kind of showing the intent for, well, I can't win right now, but if you manage to deal with at least one of these battlefields, then I'm going to need something to go into another one at some point.
Yep.
Going for hidden card, just debating where. Okay, that's going to go on Seat of Power. Putting a nice cushion on that seat, but a dangerous one for your opponent, I imagine.
Yep, and the hidden card could be a few things. Could be Hidden Blade. It could actually be a face breaker from the sideboard, or it could be, and say it with me, everyone, guard! Not really sure which one it is, but you know, I always like to take the opportunity to scream a card if I can. Got a few units in the hand of Prismat. I see a Noxus Hopeful, I see a Gust, I see what I believe is a Hard Bargain, and a Traveling Merchant. So those units are not really helping win the combat here. The Gust may be able to deal with a recruit.
Maybe.
And then the Hard Bargain is potentially doing something, but it's not necessarily that great against that much open energy on the side of Pedro.
No, I think at this point when we're Prismat, we're thinking, gosh, I wish I could draw some more cards.
Absolutely. 9 might spread across 3 units on the side of Prismat. Going to start with 2 mechs coming in, and that is Hidden Blade on one of the mechs. Now, it is a risky proposition to give Prismat 2 cards.
You got to draw some cards!
You got to draw cards. Ask and you shall receive.
Which I guess one of the reasons you might want to go in there is for exactly that. It's like, well, if it is a Hidden Blade and they do choose mine, then I get some cards, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, the problem is it costs you another mech to play that, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're absolutely gusting back the recruit with the Brutalizer.
Yep, makes sense.
Get back there. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Get out of here, please. And now it looks like Prismat is likely going to need to...
Might be saying a bit of a nope to that.
Yeah, it looks like another Death Grip.
It's too big now.
It is too big. It's going to have to be, it would have to be a Hard Bargain repeated here to stop it from happening.
Oh, we're going for it.
That's exactly what happened. Hard Bargain repeated is going to stop that from happening, which means the Gust will go through.
It got big, it got smaller again. And the Gust was too strong. Put the fan up to the next level, crank it. Yep,
the unfortunate thing for Prismat is that this is all done just to not lose.
Yeah, that feels bad. Running really low on units right now. And we know who is better at making units fast. And their name begins with P and ends in O, not M.
Yes, it is going to be a salvage actually cast just to draw the card. Did not draw anything there. So Annie conquers. We're going to fortify with the Noxus Hopeful and pass the turn and hope that this is enough to hold the line here for Prismat at 7 points. Pedro also at 7. They're going to have to hold here. It's going to have to be enough. Pedro in an absolutely pivotal moment here needs to make the right decision. And it's going to have to be soon.
Pedro must take the arena greatest to get that final point for victory, to head forth from top 4 here at the regional qualifier in Lille. This is game 2. The pressure is on.
Yep, here we go. We're going to start with an on guard that is going to put the Sand Soldier up to 3. We equip a Brutalizer.
That's a big soldier.
Yep, that will put it up to 6, which is not quite enough, but the 7th is there with the soldier, and that is Prismat drawing the cards. The fist bump is extended, and we have an Azir going to the finals.
Pedro has powerfully pummeled their way into the finals as we see an Azir topple our top 4.
Wow. Again, Azir absolutely playing, Pedro playing Azir to the absolute maximum extent. I can say as someone who tried to make Azir work early on, I was not able to make it look like that. Every time I played the deck, I had no runes in play and no board after a while. I traded everything off and it ended up being inefficient, but we see every single bit of value extracted by Pedro, able to take it down there over a very strong player playing a very strong and innovative deck in Prismat with Annie.
I'm honestly blown away by both of these players and the strategies they employed against each other's very tricky decks. But seeing the Azir go all the way in this tournament has been a delight.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic to see a deck that has certainly not been the top of the meta in Azir make it all the way to the finals. It's certainly not been a deck that has been on a lot of people's minds going into, or at least pre-bans for sure. I think that the loss of Fight or Flight has certainly changed a ton here, obviously for Azir, and it is paying off for Pedro in this event.
Azir showing that you can build your own army and make it work so beautifully. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes it takes the right player, the right build, and not one of us trying to build our silly deck and be like, oh goodness, yeah, I've got all spells or I've got all units. Why is this not working? Well, I tell you why it's not working. We're not Pedro.
Yeah, we are not playing it to the absolute maximum, but Pedro has done that, and we're going to be able to see more of that in a bit. But Amy, I've got some good news for you. We have actually got Game 3 of the other match here in our top 4. So let's see it. We have got Master Yi versus Draven.
Let's see it. Boogie down with some of the OGs. We've got Master Yi, Draven, and here we go. Glorious Executioner versus our Wuju Bladesman. Who's going to come out on top?
Yep, we are here. We are going to actually, I was kidding here, Amy. We are actually at the beginning of this match. I thought we were going into Game 3. We actually get the full match. This is amazing.
Oh, what a treat. Here we go.
I lied. No, this is Game 3. You know what? Maybe I'll say the wrong thing again. We are in Game 3 here at the beginning of Game 3. We start here with that Sand Soldier on the side of Master Yi. Now we've got Draven going into their first turn here.
You gave me such the emotional roller coaster there.
I gave it to myself too, so we're on this roller coaster together saying, guards!
incredible. Master Yi versus Draven. Whoever goes through to the finals will be facing off against Azir. Both a fantastically incredible player base. And what a strategy you need to employ against either of these to pull forth. We've got our Trinity Force already on a Sand Soldier. That's a great start if you're Master Yi.
Yeah, definitely is, of course, the Trinity Force a key card for Lucian, but also in this Master Yi deck being very, very good to be able to threaten to score 2 points by holding. That is one of the downsides of having to hold, is you can only score 1 point. Well, you can score 2 points if you are a Trinity Force holder, and there we have it. There's 2 points scored.
Bing, bing.
Up and up we go with the Trinity Force.
Yeah, we could hear those points being added there. And we've got a charm, bringing that Kai'Sa that was just played forward, bashing into this Sand Soldier. An unexpected twist that Kai'Sa wasn't ready for. Only 1 Chaos Rune standing on CTCG's side, so we're cleaving!
Yeah, cleave comes in, and that does work because Kai'Sa is turned into the attacker, but there we have it on guard. Going to counter that. So that is a Kai'Sa and a cleave down.
Woo.
We even got the Ravenbloom Conservatory trigger, though it did not actually get a card. That's okay. Still gets to happen there with the charm and the Sand Soldier holding down the fort.
Holding on in there. We've just got a Pouty Poro going into our turn. We do get the hold points, so the Poro's done its job, but we're going to Falling Star. Oh my gosh.
What more?
Not so fast.
Oh, I'm like, what more could you ask for than a Falling Star being used on a Sand Soldier? And it's so important we're actually using a not so fast, so strong.
We need that Sand Soldier. Kai'Sa coming in again. Pouty Poro going to come back to base. Keep him safe with Kai'Sa.
Yep, keep him safe. Not only do we not want him on the battlefield, we also want Kai'Sa to be able to conquer that battlefield, that aspirant climb that we are ever so importantly on this game, which means we are playing to 9, which means it is odd point totals. There's another, wait, hold on.
No.
Did we just see this? Are we...
No, it's a different art. It must be a different turn.
Are you
There's
sure
no
this is
replay.
not deja vu? We missed another Ravenbloom Conservatory trigger, but that's okay. No cleave this time. The Kai'Sa is down. The Sand Soldier has killed multiple epics worth of legends. Now, I wonder if this is lore accurate. Has there ever been one Sand Soldier holding a Trinity Force that kills Kai'Sa twice in the lore?
Does that Sand Soldier get like a promotion? When does he get to be above Soldier?
Well, it does get a promotion to getting rebuked. So now this Sand Soldier has eaten 2 Kai'Sas, has now also eaten 4 runes on the side of the Draven. I don't know if there's ever been a Sand Soldier that has done as much as that one right there.
That did a lot of damage, not in physical might, but just damage to our opponent's resources.
And scored 5 points as well.
And scored 5 points! Nah, he deserves a promotion.
I think so. I would agree. That Sand Soldier did a lot of work there.
Draven Showboat coming to show off some stuff.
Yep.
Show off some power.
Show off the might, because it is Draven time. And there we have the camel himself, the Ruin Runner.
You gotta love him, you gotta hate him, but you love him if you're Sean.
You absolutely love him if you are Sean here, but Draven is going to be conquering that Aspirant's Climb. Pouty Poro, wondering if they're going to stay there. Is Pouty Poro worth a Ravenbloom Conservatory proc is the question.
Poro, give us the answer. You're so pouty.
Or we could also have a Ferris Forerunner there as well.
Oh, it's the alliteration squad over there.
Pouty Poro, Ferris Forerunner, Ruin Runner, also alliteration. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, it's all good in there. Hiding a card. Shh, it's not there.
It's not there. It can't hurt you.
I can't see it.
It definitely can hurt you, yes.
No, camouflage. So good. So good.
Absolutely. And we see the Ruin Runner at 5. The other side, of course, we have 8 on both battlefields.
On guard, I say!
On guard coming in on the Ferris Forerunner. put him
There
up
we
to
go.
7.
That's not Ferris Forerunner, you silly.
Ruin Runner. It's one of the runners. It's a runner.
Runner.
Different runner. But whether it's Ferris or Ruin, we're running away from combats here if possible, and it looks like it is no longer Draven time as the Ruin Runner. I almost said it again. As the Ruin Runner
Well done, I'm proud of you.
is taking down the Draven, but actually it is Tide Turner
Woo!
there to swap over and save the Draven. Saving the Draven.
Tide Turner here being like, no, not the showboat.
Absolutely. And as we see here, we can have the Ruin Runner.
Up to 6 points if you're Sean. That is a demanding position to be in. Now it is our turn. If you're Draven, you got to stop him. You got to try and deal with that Ruin Runner, the only unit on the other side of the board so far.
Yeah, and that's fine though. You really don't mind if that's the only unit you have. If that's the one that you have, it is massive. It is 7 on the base, but when it defends alone, it's going to go up to 9. Plus, there's a couple of cards in hand and a lot of energy on the side here of Bjorn. So they are going to be in a pretty decent position to try to defend here. But, you know, Draven does not really have much of a choice but to try to contest this because they're going to be getting 2 points and going up to 8 on this next turn.
Don't like that.
Not enough to win right now because of Aspirant's Climb, but still is a great spot to be in.
It's pretty scary when that Trinity Force comes into play. And again, just bolsters you into the commanding position, especially when we're going to 9 points. You've kind of put your opponent on the back foot because they can gain fewer points per turn than you can.
Yeah, absolutely. When you are holding and you only get 1 point, well, it's not great when your opponent is also holding and they get 2 points. That's just basic math that even I can do.
1 is bigger than 2.
Turns out that is the case. We are moving Draven Showboat back. Wonder if we're going to be doing something this turn with him, or if we are waiting to set up an attack for next turn. We shall see. How much of an attack is it going to be? Rek'Sai in the back line.
And a Poro.
And a Poro. So now we're going to go up to 8. So technically, we could be threatening lethal here if we're able to take that Ravenbloom Conservatory. We have the Master Key in the Chosen Champion Zone. What do we have, and is it going to be enough, or are we just going to play defense here?
Up to 8 points, using that 2 is greater than 1. Trinity Force giving us an extra hold point there. Now we just need to take that top battlefield, but wait a minute, there's no units in base.
There are no units in base, but we do have a Ruin Runner in base now, and there's a first mate.
Incredible readying the Ruin Runner so they can dash right in.
Yep, they can dash right in. That is going to be a discipline. Going up 9 to 8. We see 1 energy spent. It is a stack deck. I don't know what we can see.
It was 2 Ferris Forerunner, so they're not going to be very helpful.
That's going to be it. The handshake is extended. We have Master Yi in the finals. No Draven. That is absolutely insane.
This is not the League of Draven as Sean strikes gold for victory with Master Yi. Our finals will be Master Yi versus Azir. Azir has already taken down a Master Yi in our top 8.
Yeah.
Can they repeat that, or will it be a Master Yi victory this time round?
Yeah, and I mean, not all Master Yis are built the same. I know I talked to both of these players in the finals, actually. Weirdly enough, these are 2 of the players that I interviewed in the finals here. And they both had different opinions necessarily on this matchup. So again, this is certainly not the finals that we were expecting. I don't think anyone I did not see a single person predict this finals, Master Yi versus Azir. Show me the receipts if you did. I will like your comment at the very least and say, great Photoshop skills, buddy. But because I do not believe that, but this is absolutely spectacular. I'm so happy that we got the chance to see this, Amy.
I'm so overjoyed. Not only that we got to see this, but we got to feature that last game there. We got to feature that winning moment. We got to see the joy that came from finally defeating Draven and putting them in the top 4, not the finals of this event.
Yeah. Aurelia, there were 3 Aurelias in this top 8. 0 in the top 4. They all flopped. No offense to the players, I know, did very well, long day, but very much here. We can see here is the final bracket, the road of Pedro, the road of Shorn here. Azir versus Master Yi. No Aurelias here, no more Dravens. We have got the calm legends in the finals.
They're calm and collected, and they have earned their spot by battling so tremendously throughout this event.
Yeah, absolutely insane top 4 there. But Amy, we've got so much more here. We've got the finals coming up, but before that, we've got a video with Barcode.
Domino, who just won the best of set medal cards. Congratulations. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I was waiting if I'm gonna get it or no, because at the end it came down to tiebreakers and I managed to stay on top.
But that's absolutely incredible, to be honest. I was walking down the alleys and I saw you during the entire tournament. You were in the top tables and I was like, wow, he's doing that with set. You're a true set master.
Yeah, I started the tournament very well. I went 9-1 and then I sadly lost all my last 3 games, but luckily it was enough.
Exactly. I mean, in the end, you still had the medal card, which is great. What does it mean for you to have this card? Because in the end, we are the best set of the room.
Yeah, I mean, it feels amazing. It's my 2nd set after Bologna.
That is absolutely insane. I mean, right now, you are literally the best set of the world.
We could say that.
So what's next now? Do you plan on still playing set for the next tournaments, or do you want to put your eyes on another champion, another legend?
I'll probably play set for as long as it's possible.
That is the mindset, actually. Once again, congratulations. Back to you guys.
It's time for the finals, Lothar. We are ready for our 2nd ever RQ finals in Europe. And these are not the decks, I think, for a finals we would have put money on to begin the weekend. But as we've seen play progress, I think ever so slightly, people have thought, okay, Yi definitely up there. Azir starting to get up the wins as well.
I think we have to start a uncomfortable conversation about is green the best color in the game.
So what you're saying is we need bans, we need to get rid of...
That's what I meant.
I think I will say, though, that through a lot of Spirit Forge, many people were saying, well, Chaos is clearly the best single domain.
It was the most popular color in this event.
It was, and certainly has had a lot of impact. And that's not to say that the bans have completely removed Chaos from the trophy,
We had 5 decks that incorporated purple color in the top 8.
And that's why it's a surprise not to have a Chaos deck in the finals.
It is, but at the same time, if you were an avid, let's say, viewer of people's content or opinions for pro players, you could see that many people were leaning towards either yellow color decks,
that's true.
Mid-range Master Yi was something that was under the radar a little bit. But if you are a knower, you knew that mid-range Master Yi might actually perform in the tournament, and it did. Having 2 of them in the top 8 is actually quite incredible, and now we're going to have an Azir versus a Master Yi final. That is probably the least I would expect from another final when coming to this regional.
That's a very fair statement when you come to, as we said, number of decks played in the room. Both of these were not within the top 3 decks represented, but definitely very strong performances throughout the tournament so far. We can talk a little bit about both players' roads to the final. Pedro, the top seed coming out of Swiss, was able to take their road through the top 8, and you know, side selection has been key. We saw that first matchup for them really put the pressure on, actually winning this exact matchup earlier, right? It was the Azir into the E, having side selection really punished his opponent.
So we can draw a little bit of like parallels between those matchups that we already seen. Like for example, what you mentioned, because he's a higher seed, he will choose to go first in the first game, right? And then will most likely go, if he win the first one, loses the second one, then he will go first again in the first, the third match. But what we already established, if you were not watching the top 8 match for Pedro over here, there are 2 locations, 2 battlefields that are just so pivotal for the Azir legend when they especially put it against the Master Yi, and one of them is Trifarian War Camp, which will allow the Azir to stack that battlefield and deal an insane amount of might on that one battlefield that the Master Yi will have problem into conquering, right? And the other one is Hall of Legends, which Azir can use to create more might, essentially by creating more tokens, while the Master Yi can like essentially only use it if the other battlefield is gonna be Forge of the Fluffed, and that's still like very clunky to like, and almost improbable to use actually twice in one turn.
Both of those battlefields were really quite oppressive in the wins for Pedro on Azir. Over on the other side of the table, you know, coming into this on the Master Yi, we obviously saw the game where basically, like, turn 2 was Trinity Force off Forge of the Fluff that his opponent had played, which was crazy, and then playing, like, double Trinity Force, jumping up through the points. So, yeah, it's been quite a battlefield-dependent day in a way, which sounds really strange, but, you know, we were a little bit stuck in a rut of seeing a lot of Dreaming Tree, Obelisk of Power, Reaver's Row. Like, every single game you were seeing multiple that sure, they have impact on the game, but not quite in the way that we've seen asymmetrical impact with some of these battlefields.
Yeah, you could say that, for example, the Dreaming Tree in most games would have been symmetrical because both of the decks have spells that are targeting a unit, right? And it can be done during one showdown, which is not something that, for example, Seed of Power is a good example. Seed of Power only is triggerable when conquering, and not many decks can actually concur or like hold and conquer the 2 battlefields at the same time, or it is happening in like more pivotal moments of the game rather than just during every turn. And while some decks are actually capable of doing that almost every turn, like Rek'Sai, like Azir, typically like yellow decks, right? So then you have those kind of more asymmetrical effects, like you said, and they can have a bigger impact on the game, which I feel like is neat as well because it gives deck building a little bit more depth as well. But at the same time, it creates more uneven situations on the board, which might not be the best for like the viewer experience or like the chance of like specifically the disparity between going first and going second gets even bigger when the battlefields have bigger effect on the game as well.
Yeah, we are only a few minutes away from our finals. Of course, have to give the players a moment or two in between rounds here. They are the final 2 people in the room playing Riftbound within the main tournament. I actually saw some people still out playing Riftbound. We've got a great audience as well in the hall. A couple of people just jamming games. They're like, I've got the stream on, I'm going to jam some games. That is...
Seems like a good evening.
Exactly. The atmosphere here in the venue has been great all weekend. If you haven't been able to make it to RQ Lille, please try and join us in RQ Utrecht coming up next for Europe. Or if you're across the pond, see you next weekend, RQ Atlanta. Sadly, I won't see you there in person, but I know our colleagues over on the broadcast team there will walk you through all of the action for sure. What is sure to be a great event, and we'll have to see whether the meta read is the same over in North America as it has been here in Europe. I'm not starting that banter.
No?
We're not going there.
I mean, we could talk about the potential impact of this meta game for Atlanta. Because I feel like because of the aspect that equipment is getting so much traction, I think it could be something that will affect the metagame.
Could very well. Well, there is a big question on which deck is the best this weekend. Let's get into our finals.
All right, this is it. After 2 days of competition, of heated battles and clutch moments, it all comes down to this. 2 players, 1 stage, 1 title on the line. For the 2 players, this is more than just a game. This is real competition. This is legacy. This is everything they've worked for. The first player, coming from Spain, playing Azir, Pedro! And his opponent, coming from Germany and playing Master Yi, Sean! And for the last time of the competition, I'm gonna hand it over to our wonderful commentators. James, Lothar, take it away.
Thank you so much, Barcode, for bringing us into the finals here in Lille. That's everything on the road to the finals out of the way. We've got all of the housekeeping done. The players are on stage. They are ready to get into the game. And so am I. I'm so ready to go.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like, pacing in my chair because I kind of wait to watch the match. It's gonna be, maybe not gonna be the fastest, because I'll be honest with you, if I'll be sitting in that chair and I know that I have no time limits to play the game and I'm playing for the first place in a regional qualifier, I'll be taking my time when it comes to taking every single decision. But of course, there's not gonna be a slow play. You still have to make a reasonable decision in time, even when there's no, time limit in general. But one thing I will tell you though, I feel like there's a very high ceiling with the Azir deck, and it seems like the players who are actually putting the hours and the reps and they have the planning in their head like ahead of time, like 2 turns ahead, 3 turns ahead. The deck completely works in a different manner than when we typically would expect from an Azir deck, and it's showcasing how complex and beautiful this game can be when you have masters of the decks.
And that is now the 2nd tournament in a row for Europe that we're having where it has been a deck that requires expertise and reps. Alan on Ezreal last event over in Bologna showed us that, playing however many hundreds to thousands of games on Ezreal and drilling that strategy again and again can lead you to a win, compared to here now with Azir being the deck we're looking at. With that, of course, has some complexity to it, but Master Yi as well is not one to count out, as this is the deck list here for Pedro. Azir, Emperor of the Sands, based mainly around equipment and generating sand soldiers and very small units in order to actually control the battlefields and win. Of course, very unit light, just the chosen champion really coming into this, from the main board at least.
Yeah, and then we have also the Voodoo Blazeman, a very classic deck coming in from even set 1 when mid-range Yi was also an option in addition to the Aurora Yi, but now establishing it himself in the metagame as the prime choice when it comes to the overall deck archetype that comes into the metagame. So we're gonna have just, some amount of units that try to conquer and hold a battlefield after that. So kind of similar to what Azir wants to achieve as well, but the stark contrast here is that Azir has explosive turns, has really like a lot of possibilities when it comes to swapping the might between units by equipping it and then juggling the equipment between 2 units going 1 by 1 into battle, but also death gripping a unit to then transfer the same might that you will double from the equipment on the same unit in the same turn, so potentially creating a really powerful unit at the same time, so there is the difference. I also like the change in game plan for Pedro that he presented in the previous time when he played against Master Yi. It was one of the theories that we talked about, where Azir typically wants to play wide and use the Sand Soldiers Weapon Masters to not pay for the equip cost, but at the same time when you play against a Master Yi, you're gonna have to have a bigger unit that will go over the top, over the Yi defenses, and make sure that you can utilize your equipment to the max by stacking it on 1 soldier. But then you have to pay the rune cost, which will keep you down on potential like explosive turns with Arise as well. Right? So there is payoff, and there's also the cost. So that's one of these skills that you have to have when you play a deck that is a little bit more complex like Azir. And also just wanted to point out, Pedro didn't lose a game yet, a whole match. He's
Yeah.
undefeated.
Undefeated in matches. Sean has only lost the one match and tied one as well. We are into game one of our finals. It is Hall of Legends for Pedro. Sean will be on Vilemore's lair. So we are in a situation where, you know, that does remove some of Azir's potency of being able to move battlefield to battlefield, as we see the opening mulligans here.
Now the mulligan for Yi has a Guardian Angel and a Zhonya's, and if I'm not mistaken, was that also a Discipline? Let's
think
see
so, yeah.
what Azir will start with. Desert's Call to open the game, so no equipment this time.
Yeah, it's not quite the Eye of the Herald.
But that's
into
for Truffaut and Warcamp. That's like
True,
the best opener for Truffaut and Warcamp. For Hall of Legends, it's going to be important to have an equipment next to him to trigger the Hall of Legends, untap your legend, and get 2 Sand Soldiers.
And I feel like you got to feel okay about this when your opponent just plays as Anya's as something to do with the energy early on in turn 1. Again, not too versed in the Master Yi matchup, but that definitely feels like a card where you're like, well, I'm just kind of making sure I'm using my resources that I can if I haven't got a 2-drop or a turn 1 play.
Correct. And now we're going to have a Brutalizer being played. We are going to equip it to one of the Sand Soldiers. It's in the base, so that's the weapon Master use without any power cost. Now, for Master Yi, let's take a look. I don't think we established that there are no cold weeks in the main for Azir.
Yep. Yes, that
so
is
you
correct.
don't have to worry about a cold week when you have one big unit on the board till it gets to game 2 and 3, and that's still a question if even is being sideboarded in. That changes the patterns with how you play. Like if you're not certain what the opponent's deck has, and we have full knowledge of the deck list when you're playing into debate, it will change with how you perceive the matchup and how you play the matchup. You can take completely different ideas on how to execute your game plan.
So the move to Hall of Legends to score the second point, the third point, sorry, I should say, from Pedro, and that will be the Azir just played into the base. I mean, you always have to look at, is that something that can be charmed away? Is there enough, potentially, if the Navori Scout moves over to one battlefield, is it enough to be able to pull that Azir away? Because we've seen the Azir be a big finish for the, at least the Azir Sovereign be the big finish for the Azir deck. If you can remove that, that may very well take out some of the potency to close.
So right now, Sean is in a position where he has to choose which battlefield he wants to attack. Even if he wants to attack, maybe he wants to like reinforce his base and then move at the same time when the opponent might be a little bit lower on runes. But that, I feel like that moment might pass very soon, because right now Pedro has only 2 runes open, which essentially gives it like a potential Death Grip, a Discipline, maybe an Enguard. Double Enguard is possible, but it's very unlikely because there are only 2.
It is a Discipline.
So there's a Discipline. It's now 5-4, and the ball is in Sean's court to decide if he has a way, and he has.
Discipline against Discipline, and we're hoping for a very disciplined finals from both players. And so far, so good on that. That is going to be the Navori Scout conquering. Now, where do we go? I think there was a Charm in hand, and having used the Discipline, this could be an opportunity. You've burned the remaining resources available from the Azir, so the shields are down compared to other times. Here comes the Charm. Going to remove the Azir. Very clear move here, moving Azir Sovereign. Guards comes out, and that is going to be played in response, because it can be at reaction speed.
Can be a reaction speed.
Because it was from hidden.
It was the Charm was targeting the Azir though in the base, correct?
Yes, but Azir, of course, will be declared as an attacker here. So is there a way of overcoming the Navori? Because the Navori is also going to get +2, right? I'm just wondering, was there any way? Because the Brutalizer will get Weapon Mastered onto the new Sand Soldier that would come from Guards, be brought with the Azir in the attack, because of the attack trigger, and would overwhelm the Navori. Defy says no. Get out of here with that. So that was the line of thinking from Pedro there, to try and...
It could have been a very good attempt at breaking this Charm, but unfortunately, the Defy puts a dot at that eye.
It does indeed. Find Your Center being found early on in the game just to advance the economy here from Sean to just say, yep, I'm just going to stay high up on runes the further we go. Again, Sean is trying to just use every single rune that he can in this early game to just say, okay, later I will have better cards to use with my economy.
But it was a very nice attempt with the Guards play and the possible movement with the Azir Sovereign. Unfortunately, didn't work out. It would be a cool clip as well.
I know. The Shurima Shuffle would have been kind of like really surprised. You bring the army with him. So that was a significant moment in this game.
Yeah. Now, it would actually break the tempo completely for Sean as well, if that would happen. So not only it would achieve the hold as well, so it could have been a huge swing, but that's not the case. And now Pedro needs to rebuild his board. We have seen an Arise in his hand, so his game plan right now is going to be to do what he would typically like to do anyway. So play as many equipment and just
play him out.
Play him out and then go with the Rise. And we know that there's no Wind Wall in game 1 because that can only be sideboarded by Sean. And no, sorry, Sean doesn't even play the Wind Wall. The Wind Wall is actually in Azir.
Yeah, we actually we have them backwards on our deck, on our desk. So some big power units here for Sean. That will be the Master Yi from the Chosen Champion Zone. Only one rune available for a follow-up here if this Master Yi does go aggressive. And it's a one-way trip into Vilemore's lair here.
Well, not exactly. He does have ganking.
Oh, yeah. That is such an important part of this card that it is there. If you have to move over to Hall of Legends, that is absolutely
another
correct.
Defy? Oh my
Another
God.
Defy.
Those two Defies are just absolutely backbreaking.
Face breaker, more like backbreaker from Sean as the Defy on 2 key cards. And in the matchup earlier, Pedro on the play was able to dictate the pace against Master Yi. And in this game, Sean has been able to control the entire game around these showdowns on his own terms.
Yeah, it's really huge influence here on those Defies. Those 2 plays were establishing control for Pedro, but were completely denied. And not gonna lie, the Guards play was also very cool, but now we have to probably use the reinforcements as soon as possible, because otherwise we're gonna have a problem with this ganking Yi. The reason why the Navori Scout went back to base is because it's not needed anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you have the ganking Yi that is a little bit stronger, right? And it will have your unit in base for reinforcements as well.
That Zhonya's is still active as well, remember. So when this Guardian Angel is played, the Arise is likely to follow. There's a question mark in the way that I'm saying this, because it's, are you going to just overwhelm the Yi alone with 1 unit, which you probably can with the Brutalizer if you want to equip that.
To be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if Pedro doesn't, maybe wants to slow down the game. There was also a possibility. Like, he's ahead on points. He might give his opponent like the possibility of going to 5 if he just doesn't concur, and then builds up in the back and just waits for the next turn. But in this case, we are putting one of the Sand Soldiers to get the points. We're ahead on 5, and now we're gonna maybe reposition the BF from the battlefield, but it's still, I think it's still valid to keep it, because 5 versus 4 on the Navori would be nice, but the problem is that the Master Yi actually has 6. So that would force you to interact with it first. Yeah, so Master Yi, do you get the BF sword back anyway with Master Yi having to kill this unit? But you would have to pay the cost then. Yeah, that is fair. And here we're just building a huge unit that is going to attack into the Master Yi. This is going to be 9 to 8. And Sean has nothing available, no energy available to play around that. So this is what you said earlier about stacking all of the equipment on 1 soldier. They are now at Vilemore's lair, so depending on how long this Sand Soldier stays around here from, all of this equipment is now stuck. Well, there is one out, that is Death Grip, that can sacrifice the unit, transfer all of this might to someone else, and then re-equip it. So when you think about it, I don't think we have the Death Grip in hand, unfortunately. Yeah. But if you have the Death Grip, that's +7 on another Sand Soldier. Reaction speed, by the way, which is very important in general. Not maybe in this matchup, but overall in many matchups, the buff on the reaction speed actually matters a lot, because it can save you from removal as well. That is damage based, or like play around Gust and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But also, this +5 from this equipment can be then utilized on someone else. It's actually going to be +7 because Brutalizer re-equipped gives you another +2. So you're going to be able to transfer essentially 12 might with 1 Death Grip to someone else.
There's a White Flame Protector in hand for Sean.
First time we actually see it being drawn for Sean on stream.
In the games we've cast, we didn't actually see it. And of course, that is a big swing of might for the turn that it is played. But is that enough? Because, you know, as much as the micro decisions perhaps went to Sean with some cool defies and plays, it hasn't broken the tempo that Pedro has had. You mentioned it earlier, like Pedro was ahead on points and is now at 6. And we are going to 8 in this game. There is no reason to be playing longer than that. No Aspirant's Climb or anything like that. So really, Pedro is representing Lethal with what is on board. Of course, Sean will be able to at least break the Sand Soldier that is on its own at Hall of Legends.
You can see how important was the Arise to actually bring in back possibility of attacking and being proactive in the same turn.
Yeah, exactly. The follow-up turn does have 3 Sand Soldiers, even if Pedro loses both battlefields. So that is an Avori Scout conquering. Sean goes to 4. So Pedro does know he has another turn at least. Save for a Trinity Force shenanigans, which is unlikely to stick in this match. But it is in the deck, so we've always gotta keep that in mind.
Typically, you would like to keep that Protector in hand when you gank with the Yi to potentially finish a game. You know, but it sometimes has to be used just as a discipline, essentially, in this scenario.
That is a really big discipline.
Yeah.
There is the White Flame Protector, which is a big unit on its own. White Flame Protector, of course, 8 might. You're paying a lot for it, but it is going to give +8 might to another unit the turn that it enters, and I wonder where that 8 might is going. Surprise! It goes on the Master Yi, and Master Yi now a very, very big Yi.
14 to 7 seems like a pretty easy matchup for the Master Yi, but now, how much might do we have? Oh, right, there was a Guardian Angel.
Yeah, Guardian Angel, so it does get recalled back to base.
Recalled the Sand Soldier, right.
So all the equipment does stay on it. That is the other point.
Now let's take a look at the hand. We
Eye
have
of the
an
Herald.
eye. Is that Death Grip?
It is a Death Grip.
It is a Death Grip. Okay.
At least one. I think it might be 2, actually. Yeah, it is 2 Death Grips in hand.
Ooh, okay.
So that is significant, right? Because you can...
triple the amount of might, essentially.
And Sean is tapped out.
There's no interaction over here. Yeah.
So Death Grip from 1 is going to put all of that might onto the second.
And now
then you can equip the Brutalizer and the BF Sword. And because you don't need runes, because this game could end this turn.
We need 8 for breaking Vilma's Lair. Right now, this Sand Soldier has +5.
Can already do it.
8. Yeah, he can do it. How much is this? This is 3, 5, 6. I'm gonna let the judge add the might over here.
It's enough, and that means that goes up to 7.
Can be transferred now with the second Death Grip.
Just to another unit, and Sean has nothing to do about it. Sean nods his head, knows exactly what is coming next, and that means it is likely to be game 1 now, going over to Pedro.
We re-equipped the BF Sword, we re-equipped the Brutalizer. That's another +6, and it's attack for million. It's over 9,000 over here, going into Halls of Legend and close it out this game.
Sean had 2 defies that seemed clutch, but they weren't enough to deny Pedro game 1. And Pedro, from being our top player from Swiss, has not lost a series yet, is now 1 game away from being crowned RQ Lille champion.
You can see how insane Death Grip is, but when you get 2 of that and you essentially just you just get so much value out of the equipment, it's bonkers. Now, when it comes to game 2, we're gonna have reinforcements. Sean can side in the actions. The actions can foil your plans with stealing a G8, which is actually very impactful. Stealing a BF Sword is also pretty huge, because now you're staring at a 7 might action that is most likely not an easy target to kill, to then reposition, repossess the BF Sword that was stolen.
And you've mentioned a couple of times while you've watched the Master Yi games, Thwonk is another thing from the sideboard where you're playing games against somebody that is stacking 1 big unit. Thwonk kind of just is fight or flight at home in a way, where
Yeah.
it just says, yeah, get out of the combat. No, you can't re-equip everything because, sure, you're not going to lose the unit, but you can't get those equipment on anything else to utilize the might, and that is what our players are playing for. This is what is on the line. The trophy from RQ Lille, the Blade of the Ruined King first place champion promo and playmat.
And wanted to a little bit go back to the sideboard things that you were mentioning. Twonk is actually an interesting card that you mentioned, because typically when you're playing with closed deck lists, you would not consider maybe starting in Twonk against an Azir, against, in theory, a white deck. But you see how Pedro is actually playing the game, how is he swapping his game plan against the Master Yi here, and Twonk seems to be now enticing, because you know that that Pedro will try to create this monster soldier, and one Twonk can also negate any value of the death grips that are gonna be used on like a particular push. So Twonk might be a good side card to go in. Action and Defy is something as well. First Mate can actually be also implemented into this game plan, because you will need a little bit more proactiveness with how aggressive the Azir is, and you have to be a little bit more on your toes when it comes to just not letting go of the battlefields.
Yes, thank you to everybody joining us here in the venue. They are giving a round of applause over to our competitors, or themselves. You know, you deserve it too. Many of the competitors that are joining us in the hall, as it is Pedro against Sean. At this point, Pedro is one game away from being crowned RQ Lille champion. Sean is going to have to go back-to-back on these games, which, again...
Not easy.
Not easy, especially when, even if you level up the series to 1-1, you then have to overcome Pedro's advantage of going first.
On Trifarian Warcamp.
Yeah, which is what we're expecting. We would expect that is what we saw Pedro do earlier in a best of 3 against the Master Yi.
It makes so much sense.
That means his second choice was Seat of Power, right?
Yes,
that
correct.
was
and that's still another battlefield that will benefit more the Azir player than the Master Yi, most likely.
Normally, I think we do have a little bit of delay, but Pedro at this moment has his headset off, so not that our sideboarding is particularly useful compared to them. Yeah, if you've got to the finals, you probably are not caring about our sideboard opinions.
Yeah, but there's a delay on the stage.
There is a delay on the stage, just for integrity reasons. But those of you at home that may be wondering, I think it is worth us addressing it while it is the elephant in the room on stream. It has been a wonderful weekend, though, of Riftbound. We had the bands come in a couple weeks back, really shake things up. We were not sure exactly what to expect, but we had a good read on the top 6 decks, I think I would say, in the meta. Some have not necessarily lived up to the hype, but Azir is one of them, and Master Yi is the other, as they find their place in the finals. I feel like Europe, we're starting to get these unorthodox finals, like Ezreal in the last Bologna. Now we've got Yi and Azir, and we're on to game 2.
And we're gonna be having Ravenbloom Conservatory, which is a deck, which is a battlefield that can benefit both of those decks, because we know that Azir doesn't have a lot of units. It's just equipment and spells. So potentially holding the Ravenbloom Sanctuary can be a big target.
That is not what Sean wanted to see in the Tasty Fae Folk for the opening hand. I think
Still
Sean
can draw one more card.
Yes, still gets one more. I think Sean was looking for a turn 1 play from that mulliganed, a Find Your Center, and another card. Okay, the turn 1 play is Guardian Angel. So again, utilizing just what you can at the beginning of the game, but it is not ideal. Death Grip, Hidden Blade, Eye of the Herald is the one. This is exactly what Pedro would be looking for, is an early unit, and will end up passing.
Yeah, and now he can control the Ravenbloom Conservatory, and because of that, he's gonna be able to potentially draw more cards whenever being dueled by Sean's units. So this is actually quite significant tempo loss in case of Sean's opening hand, and you can see its desperation as well a little bit, because this kind of play, when action is just being played as a 2-drop, of course the Weapon Master has a slight advantage, but the thing is, Azir, Pedro over here, can read two things from a play like this.
Uh-huh.
Either one is his opponent has multiple actions in hand, and he just feels like he needs to play one of them to just play something that is on curve this turn, right? Or this hand is just so bad that there are absolutely no other units,
Yeah.
and the only thing that is gonna be there is pure interaction. That gives you informations that you can then implement into your own game plan, and for Pedro, that is definitely something that he's thinking about over here.
So where does Sean go from this moment? 2 disciplines. It's a lot of combat tricks and not really enough way of playing them. Akshan's going to go into the Ravenbloom. Ravenbloom.
Not a draw, and it goes to the bottom.
Okay. Is that... How much information does that give over, that a BF sword is getting moved out of the way? Here comes a discipline.
We're buffing the Sand Soldier. Goes up to 4, and we
Discipline in return.
We have 5 to 7. There's one more energy open for Pedro, but Engard is only gonna give us +1 because of the recruit. So not even an option.
Yeah, that is the moment where it is less effective. So Akshan will successfully conquer the Ravenbloom Conservatory. Now, 4 up for Sean, and now the question is, where does that go? First mate comes in. Ready's up.
Doesn't ready.
No,
Just passes.
that is fair.
Maybe in the future that would actually matter if the unit is ready or not.
I believe it's a mandatory trigger, but that is it. If you're not choosing to move Akshan back, that is fine. You know, these players are right in the middle of a finals, but anyway, that is not the important point of this game.
So, now the big question is, do you ever want to give your opponent potential draws on this Akshan and Ravenbloom Conservatory, or are we just taking over the Seat of Power and making sure that we are ahead on points? That is going to be interesting development. I'm not sure what is exactly in the hand, apart from, I feel like, one Doran's Shield. There's the equip of the Eye. Gonna take over the Seat of Power. No card draw. You have to control the other battlefield to have a draw from the Seat of Power.
Yeah, and there will be Azir played from the Chosen Champion zone.
We're equipping the other Eye, and now we're gonna have a potential charm play, because it's only one energy open, right? So if there's a Defy, that Defy will be drawn out as soon as possible. Oh, a hidden card also being placed already on Seat of Power to prevent a potential push from the first. And again, I wanted to reiterate, the hand read from Pedro could be really big, because he knows, because of the turn 1 play, because of the turn 2 play being Akshan, you are most likely expecting a lot of potential pushes with, a lot of potential combat tricks that could affect this decision when it comes to hiding a card. Because this is a pure tempo play right now, and it's helping against a first punch first mate, and if it's a face breaker, it will just absolutely demolish that kind of play. Remember though that all of those hidden cards, so Hidden Blade, face breaker, can be still defied.
Yes, yeah, they can. So here comes the Trinity Force from Sean, as that will look to have that hold strategy and see whether you can leapfrog the way up from 2 points past Pedro and potentially take this game 2 of the series. As now Akshan, of course, will need to remain on that battlefield in order to utilize that Trinity Force.
Correct. But it's bringing it to a very respectable hold. 7 by default and +2 from the passive is actually a very, very big amount of might. Now, the thing is, Pedro has the Azir Sovereign that is capable of bringing all of the tokens if he wishes to attack into the other battle. Of course, that hidden blade, that hidden card would have to be also played in this case, if you choose to bring all of the units there. But now we see reinforcements, swapping the positions of the Sand Soldiers essentially, and bringing in more recruits to make the hold on Seed of Power a little bit bigger. We're counting the might, so potential push into the Raven Moon Conservatory. 9 on defense for the action. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not certain actually how much Pedro has. It's 4, 6, 8. No, that's an I, so that's 7, 8. 8 with the recruit, 9 with another recruit being spawned.
Okay, so should be able... In fact, because of the Master Yi defensive ability, that will mean that Akshan is holding on 9, right?
It's kind of a very interesting situation because Pedro is ahead of points.
Yeah.
And he's establishing his control over Seed of Power. So if we just keep this board in check and we're just not allowing the Master Yi player to just push over the Seed of Power, we do have an advantage over Pedro's position. But he needs to think about the potential play from Master Yi in the upcoming one, where he can just play the Master Yi from Champion Zone, which is ready, and then push with it as well. Now, because of the action in turn 2, you might account for like multiple disciplines, multiple punch first, and if you have 2 punch first most likely available next turn, that is +10. If that hidden card is not Phase Breaker, right? There's so many interactions, by the way, because if it's a Phase Breaker, but if there's a Defy, and if there's other interaction here, like there's so many complex interactions over here that you have to go through, because not only Pedro needs to plan out his own turn now, he needs to set up a plan for the follow-up from the Master Yi. So he needs to think about how those energy points were going to be used this turn, how this amount of energy will be affecting the amount of energy that Sean will have access to in the follow-up, and how will that affect the amount of pumps that can be utilized as well.
You're the meme with like all of the lines drawn on the board of all the lines.
Every web of information.
Every option. Yeah, there are so many options on this Azir deck, and being able to determine exactly which one is the correct one has been key for Pedro throughout this tournament. Of course, has not lost a series so far, will go aggressively into the battlefield. Of course, all of those recruits do have to be spawned onto the battlefield that is attacking, or you are attacking with the Eye of the Herald.
14 to 9, which is, by the way, perfectly to draw the might
with one punch
first, right? So one punch first is enough to draw, but then we have still under a lot of energy from Pedro to play a pump.
The other option there are 2 disciplines and an on guard, I think, in hand. Didn't see, is there a punch first at all? I think it might just be those 3. No, there is a 4th card. Oh, there is one, I think, in the back of the hand.
So we start with the discipline, potentially giving a new information, or rather hiding information from Pedro.
Right, saying, oh, I don't have a punch first. There's a hidden blade.
So he wants to do that probably before the discipline is being resolved, not be defied.
Potentially for a defy, yeah, that would be what you would be looking. Nods and says, yep, you can have the discipline, have the draw, have the +2.
Small triggers, but they actually do matter, because 1 card less in the hand is a smaller chance for having a defy.
There is the punch first. So there's a few key things here that can be used. There is salvage. Double death grip is potentially huge as well to transfer over that might.
Remember that action speed punch first is not something that we can stop with, like, you know, with like salvages and then digging for potential. Like, you cannot even defy it anyway.
Exactly.
But, I'm not sure if we would see Windwall being cited in.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Pedro, because that is a card that potentially could affect cards like Punch First, but it would be in like meaningful moments at the end of the game and not in the mid state.
You're both de-ramping for that, right? So it feels like economically it's bad, but maybe it's like the last twist of the knife to get over the line.
Literally what happens with Hidden Blades. Typically you just don't care about the card draw because it's just to finish up the game.
Salvage comes out, that'll take care of the Trinity Force.
Brings down the might to... Wait, it was Discipline and Punch First, so that's 7. 11 with the status from Might of Action. And then we have G8, so that's 12, so that's 14.
Tied at 14. We know there's an On Guard in hand for Sean. Haven't seen Pedro's hand for a couple of moments, and we know there has been new information put into the hand. So Sean basically has to commit that On Guard, right? You have to say, yeah, I'm all in on this.
Tapping out.
This is your tournament life in this game. If you don't win this game, you are out. It's a Lonely Power was the other, and that Tasty Fey Folk still in hand. That's going to be an on guard. Looks like Pedro lets it resolve. Hidden Blade directly onto the Akshan, says, yeah, you can have 2 cards because I want the tournament.
That's so many cards that were just completely like negated with that Hidden Blade. He does replenish the hand with 2 cards, but losing the Ravenbloom Sanctuary, Conservatory, will potentially also give card draw to Pedro. Although I will tell you one thing, this is not an ideal scenario for Pedro because the plan was different. The plan was to destroy the GA.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then essentially winning this way and having a way to clear the action. But once he committed, because of the might differential, to destroy the Trinity Force, that plan was gone. So it's definitely not ideal on what happened here, but it does cost Sean a lot when it comes to potential tempo. Punch first was 2 power, right? So he's setting up himself to, again, how many runes right now? 3, 6, 7. So now we have a hold for 12. On board we have 7. Potentially Master Yi goes to 13.
And you know that it's only 1 orange rune as well, so you know there's no punch first represented for the next turn until Sean's next channel phase.
What a brawl. That was such a complex board state. It's like
yeah, truly.
Lovely, really lovely.
Love a thinking board state.
And now we also have the hidden card, which I'll be honest with you, I can't remember what it might be.
Akshan's going to go in, just checking the board state before we confirm that showdown begins.
And it will trigger first the Ravenbloom.
The Ravenbloom, exactly. That's what we're waiting on before that happens, before we know that this completes. You can see Sean doesn't actually complete the beginning of the showdown. Doesn't actually end up converting into a combat phase. So this is going to be just the first mate going over to the Seat of Power for now.
Still ahead on points from Pedro, and he's gonna go most likely 5. Seeing this kind of play, it will tell me that it's gonna be a pass, and there is the Ruin Runner.
Yeah, so this is likely setting up. Is it even? Do you even play the Tasty Fey Folk accelerated on the next turn and just try and go over the top of this giant board stack? Although, if you're Pedro, do you just happily go to 6? If possible here, looking at if there was an Arise in hand, I believe, right?
There was an Arise in hand, and you can break the Seat of Power, you can draw a card.
Bring everything back.
The question is it worth to use the Seat of Power in this moment? How important, what is the closing of this game?
But
what
that's
is the
right?
win condition?
You bring everything back from the Ravenbloom Conservatory. You use...
Well, you can leave 1 recruit with that hidden card, I guess, to nicer information.
Exactly.
And still get the trigger from Ravenbloom.
Yeah, and get everything else back. Maybe you Arise here. If you have a readied unit that you can get an equipment on, like to Weapon Master something, take out the first mate, and then next turn, go from 6 to 8. Because the likelihood of Sean being able to hold both battlefields through Pedro's next turn is very slim.
Well, we also have to count how many cards Sean has. I think it's 4.
It's 4. One of them is
cards.
a Tasty Fey Folk.
And he's going to have access to how many runes? 7, 9. All right, so 9 runes is like Master Yi and 2 open. Or
Fey Folk
potentially...
accelerated. And 1
Will you even need it? You will not need it if the units are coming to base, because you can just take over control.
Oh yeah, because you can just play it
somewhere.
to the battlefield. You're exactly right. So it would be Fey Folk plus 2 open. You don't necessarily need to accelerate. Again, one of the decisions.
But it all depends on what Pedro does first. So Pedro needs to plan out this round, this turn, and we'll see what's gonna be the potential follow-up for it.
Yeah, we Azir games do tend to have some
There's a small army over here.
Wide board states at this point.
And a pass. So just change. Was it a pass? It was a pass. So we're not also conquering Seat of Power.
I can understand Pedro wanting to be cautious in this moment, but is it more pressure to say I'm at 6 I am in a position to overwhelm you
He's
and
the
win
expert
the
on the
game.
deck.
Yeah, I very much realize that. So it is now up to Sean to say, okay, how can I, again, put as much presence on the board in order to try and get myself back in this game?
Remember, there were 2 death grips again. for
Yeah,
Pedro.
that's a key point as well. So if maybe that's Pedro's strategy, is say, I can absorb your best shot. I can take whatever you're going to give this turn, and then I'm fully in control.
Yeah, you might actually see a turn without, a complete game with an Unrise if there will be just turns when he will just deploy another piece of equipment, go for death grips, easily break the battlefields. But at the same time, because he didn't go to 6, this game is extended.
Yes.
So there's probably just another 1 point concur with like minimal impact on his runes for the next turn, setting up a Alpha Strike for the turn after that, when he's gonna be able. Oh, there's a discipline draw from the Raven Boom. That actually changes a lot,
You
because
see
now
one,
it's an
you get
information.
2, and it's another draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the runes are there to play it, so On Guard comes through. Looks like it resolves, although I'm sure Pedro will probably want to take a moment if that discipline is likely to be played or not.
We have guards, which
Guards.
can re-equip one of the equipments that is in the base. What is in the base? I think that's
It's
an
a
eye, so
brutalizer.
There's a brutalizer, which
Yeah.
is +5. This is a huge swing. Typically, when you like calculate like how much might someone can get from a card, is not +5.
An extra +5 is a lot. Although Sean did have that information that there was a hidden card there, so it was a possibility. He knew the brutalizer was there. If you're accounting for that, then yeah, you're a very fastidious player at that point of making sure you are doing your due diligence on the board. What does Sean have in hand in order to pump this Ruin Runner potentially
Well, the thing
up
is,
above?
what do you do? Do you punch first? You know there's a discipline in hand.
Yeah.
So you go to 12, your opponent goes to 13. Just by default, you will need to have another card after that.
Are we just assigning damage
And there's a
at
tank.
this point? Yeah, just assigning damage. Oh, I was wondering if Promote Action
He was teleporting
actually
already.
at the showdown as well. And that Brutalizer is still active for this turn. So that Sand Soldier is 5 might currently. You can see our might track is at the bottom. Thank you to the team that are controlling that for our broadcast this weekend.
It's actually working very smooth, I have to admit.
It's been
really
nice
good at-
with
it's
these
really
confusing
good
board
addition.
states as well. Trinity Force played at this point.
But still, the discipline is there, right? The discipline is there.
Yeah, the discipline is there. So Trinity Force goes to the first mate. So trying to build one big hold potentially.
So that's 5 might, so goes up to 7 with the Master Yi's passive. We have Desert's Call setting up potentially a base reinforcements. Yeah. Is there a
Thinking about it.
counter? For 2.
For 2, yeah, is the discipline
Discipline.
to
We're
draw,
digging for
draw
a
for it to
Defy.
5. Doesn't find it. Desert's Call will resolve.
You can see how important it was the Defy for Pedro here for his game plan.
Yeah.
He's like saying, look, if I can defy this is probably game instantly on.
Yeah, whereas now, this is the thing, he holds to 6. This is where the question of was going to 6 on the last turn, like more pressure than Sean could cope with. It's still in control. Pedro's still in
But-
control of this game.
I really love, I have to go back to that discipline in response.
Yeah.
This Desert Call, this is really heads up play because it also shows how he's managing his energy.
Yeah.
Because he has the Arise to Death Grips in hand. He knows that the Death Grips are gonna be the things that he's gonna be using the most.
Yes.
Right? So potentially Arise and 2 Death Grips, if he wants to finish that way, that is 10 energy. So he's not gonna have a use for the discipline. in
Right,
that
so
turn.
use it now, get a card. Just
Or
say,
potentially get the Defy
Yep.
and do something else. It's really nice planning. I really love that.
yeah, now we'll see Pedro continue to work the line out for what is the way out. So Death Grip will unlock the Brutalizer for this turn.
Transfer 3 might.
Transfer the might. Now you get to re-equip if you're able to either Weapon Master or just do it the old-fashioned way of
Remember that the Seed of Power is 7 might.
Yes. At least it will be on the showdown, on the defense trigger coming through. So that Brutalizer is now going to pump up that Sand Soldier, as there was a Brutalizer equipped by the rune floated.
Okay, we're going back to the Riftbound Conservatory, and now we're setting up an attack, which it should be for 8. 83 was a little bit...
It was 83.
Much more.
I was...
Miracle Draven is back?
At this point, I feel like full control of the game has gone over to Pedro. Another unit will join from the equipment being played. The Azir Emperor of the Sands legend ability used to create another Sand Soldier and another problem for Sean to deal with. We are at the winning point. Next turn for Pedro.
And it's 7-4. That is such a big gap to close. You're gonna have to set up now, for Sean, from Sean's perspective, you're gonna have to set up an efficient enough attack to break the hold from Pedro to deny him the win. But not only that, then you have to set up your own defenses in the same turn against the potential Arise double conquer.
And this
that
is
is a very hard task ahead of Sean. And let's see what are the options for him.
Yeah, what does Sean drawn into? Didn't quite get a glimpse, but that is a bit of a shake of the head. It doesn't look positive for Sean in the reaction. We know there's a tasty Fey Folk there. That's not going to be enough to dig Sean out of this permanently and take us to a game 3. It does feel like Pedro is on the verge of becoming RQ Lille champion. We don't have full information on Sean's hand.
If he's gonna pull this off, this is gonna be a comeback. Like, that would I definitely remember.
I think that is starting to enter the realms of cope as Sean...
Well, let's think about it.
It's not done. This is where, untimed, both players can go deep into the tank.
Yeah, if there's any potential card draw that Sean has in his hand, that can also alter the decision making. So a discipline pre-attack could also be a thing. 4 energy split, 8 energy split.
And you have to take out both battlefields. So even just this Sand Soldier at 3, Tasty Fey Folk comes in, accelerated.
That leaves only 2 energy for the defense.
Which is almost nothing.
That is looking rough. Right.
That's equip on a Trinity Force.
8 might potentially going into the Seed of Power, I would say, although the Riftbound Conservatory is probably the better attack.
You have to clear both, so do you have... And I mean, there's 4 runes available for Pedro in this situation, so there are a number of abilities that can dig Pedro out of even just a combat where you're only exceeding by 1 might or 2. We know that there's disciplines, on guards, there's multiple things available. And here we go. This is the attack from Sean. He's going to send the Fey Folk with 1 Sand Soldier, leaving 2 units remaining. Ravenbloom is going to reveal a rise off the top, and that is another nail in the coffin. Sean knows that even if everything gets completed this turn, even if Sean can turn the corner, for now, Pedro has options the following turn, and that has to be it.
Pedro's thinking 5 to 10. It would have to be quite a lot of cards now being used to actually defend this position, but I don't think it's even worth it. Does it matter? There's a Death Grip.
A Death Grip.
Death Grip on the defending unit, and it reinforces the Seed of Power to reinforce the potential hold for the win. We're getting +2 for the other soldier, going up to 5.
Which means Akshan and the Sand Soldier can break through, so Sean has broken the Riftbound Conservatory. 2 runes available for each player, and now for Pedro and Sean, it comes down to, if Sean goes in with both units and does not have equal combat spells, it's a Death Grip.
+3 on the unit. That brings up
Is it enough? Because,
8
Sean,
to
it
6.
would be
Is
like
there
a
punch
discipline,
first?
or yeah, punch first would do it. If there was a discipline, it would only even it, so it's not enough because Arise would likely be enough to conquer and break through the Tasty Feyfolk with the Azir on the next turn. We know there's, I think, a Stellarcorn or a Paro in hand. That's not
That's the draw.
enough. Sean is going to sweep his units from the board, and that means Pedro is about to hold.
Is there anything that you can do for 2 energy over here? Charm to
No.
boost? No, that's
Fist
it.
bump comes out. Pedro undefeated at RQ Lille on Azir. Congratulations, Pedro, on an impressive win through the tournament on one of the decks that we were wondering,
If it's
would it rise to the top? Would the Emperor of the Sands become the Emperor of Lille?
That is
For now.
quite amazing one. Undefeated, completely devastating like this entire tournament, not losing a single match in this entire round.
Very impressive run through the tournament. A new champion of Europe has been crowned for Pedro. We will of course have a championship crowning ceremony coming up soon. We have to. We can't just end it there.
Winning the trophy, he's winning the Metal Foil Legend,
And the playmat.
he's winning the playmat, he's winning the champion Blade of the Ruined King. Oof.
Can you imagine you turn up to your Nexus nights
It's
and
just
you
like
sit down
roll out,
and you're like, what do you
play
mean my
mat?" Yeah.
opponent has like all of the the collectible items
And
against
he has
me?
the trophy in his like pocket over here.
Just stands it. That's actually how he's counting his
points on the playmat, yeah,
playmat. Yeah, exactly, up the side. I mean, if I
What
could,
a
I
story.
would, but never. That is not going to be the case, as Pedro, a force to be reckoned with this weekend. We will, of course, give Pedro his flowers as we go through the crowning ceremony. But, you know, Sean, I want to talk about a second place finish on the Master
Very
Yi.
respectable as well.
Will secure, of course, the best of Yi metal cards. So very respectable, very, very well played. To top, not only top 8, but top 2, one of these RQ events means you are absolutely one of the top tier players here in Europe.
Correct. Like when you think about it, you're the second place out of almost 2,000 players competing in Riftbound Regional Qualifier Lille. It's an amazing achievement for everyone who's competing here, but specifically also for people who went into the A2, finished top 64, finished top 8. All of those are like thresholds that you go and cross, and you add to your resume as a card game player. And it's an incredible achievement to be in the finals of such a huge tournament.
Absolutely, and an honor to be in a finals alongside you as well.
Hey, we made it!
Yeah, we made it. I was
Top 2.
saying to people earlier, 100% conversion rate for this tournament, so I'll take that. As I told you before the weekend, you're going to make day 2. You got it. You made finals.
Hey,
Congratulations.
fantastic.
It has been a wonderful weekend. It has really, truly been our honor to bring you the Riftbound action here from RQ Lille. I mean, we've shaken up the meta with bans. I think it is fair to say that there is a variance to the meta now. Even though some of the faces are the same, the decks are quite different.
I would say that the top 8 was wide, surprising as well to some degree, and very enjoyable to watch. The gameplay is so different as well. Like it changed, everything changed. There's more, let's say, combat tricks being used in general.
And more combat in general.
Yes,
like we
I
had a long phase where Draven was like, I don't really want to fight against it.
It's not even Draven, it's like a Reaver's Row.
Yeah.
Like without the Reaver's Row, there's no more interaction of like going back and re-attacking.
Fight or flight, similar rationale there, where you know, a lot of the early games of Spiritforged were saying, how do we avoid combat, avoid decks from actually getting themselves stuck in and scoring points? And now we have all of those tasty combat phases to work through. Lothar, any final words from you on RQ Lille?
It was a pleasure to cast. It was a pleasure to watch as well when I was not casting, and the overall atmosphere of this event was phenomenal.
It has been our pleasure, my pleasure, and everybody's pleasure here at RQ Lille. That's it from the caster desk. It is time to crown our champion.
It has been an incredible journey and a wonderful tournament, but in the end, only one player could get crowned. Please welcome your Riftbound regional champion here in Lille, Pedro! Congratulations, Pedro. What a wonderful game it was. It was absolutely insane, to be honest, and I see that on your face. Please tell us how you feel right now. How does it feel to be crowned as a champion?
I don't know. It's a feeling I have never had before. It's insane to go to undefeated, now to be here, I don't know.
It actually feels insane. When I watch you, you're always smiling and it makes sense. You were undefeated all the way with only 2 draws, and in the finals, 2-0 in the finals, that's a statement.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more nervous now than I was before. I can't believe it.
I get it, but it's not a problem because you deserved to be crowned. And if you're crowned, I mean, you deserve to leave the trophy. So why don't you do it now? Guys, give it up for your champion, Pedro! One more time for your champion, Pedro! And that being said, I'm going to hand it over to our wonderful commentators. Blave, Amy, take it away.
Wow, what an absolutely spectacular end to a spectacular event, Amy. The biggest regional qualifier we have ever had. Almost 2,000 players whittled down to 1, and that was Pedro.
Pedro did a fantastic job. It was elating to see his joy being our Lille champion, the first ever Lille Riftbound regional qualifier champion.
Yeah, and not only that, doing it with a deck that I'll say very few people would have actually picked as the champion. I know a lot of people were talking about new decks coming out in the set 2.5. A lot of people talking about how maybe Azir, maybe Rek'Sai, maybe another one of these decks that's not just Irelia or Draven are doing well. Not a lot of people I saw picking Azir as that #1, but here we are at the end of the event seeing a champion crowned, and it was Azir.
He believed. He's played Azir for a while, and now the ultimate glory has come straight to Azir now, showing that any deck, if you believe in it and you craft it yourself, test those matchups, and come in with confidence and pride, you can make enough Sand Soldiers and win.
Yeah, and I think, we didn't get it in time for our matches that we cast, but I think maybe next week in Atlanta that the production will have that sand counter ready, and I think they may need it given the, I'm going to say the increased amount of Azir that we're definitely going to see in Atlanta next week.
Oh yeah, you could even call it a sand timer. There's another idea for how it could look. You're welcome. You can have that one for free.
Yeah, they came up with it only 10,000 years ago.
What a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for commentating alongside me. I've had so much fun, and I'm certain everyone at home has as well.
Yeah.
It's been a riveting story. We've had so many moments. What's been your favorite?
I called it out early on in the tournament, and it has remained one of my favorite moments of the event. That double deny turn, Azir on day 1, the feigned, I definitely don't have a second deny because I didn't deny your card. I mean, it's just so good. Such good play. But we saw that throughout the entire time. I mean, one of my friends, Prismat, ends up making it into the top 4, their 3rd top 8 overall. I mean, it's a huge moment for Prismat, for Riftbound in general, as we are starting to see these multi-time high-level players come back and perform at a very, very high level. So, I mean, really, it's hard to encapsulate one, but those are certainly really high up there for me. And of course, thank you so much for carrying me this entire week. And I felt so great and so honored to be on the desk with you. But Amy, what was your favorite moment of the event?
I honestly think being able to do all the wonderful interviews with our winners, I think that they provide such incredible insight, and they're really key moments to learn more, not just about their decks, but the game, how they prepare, and how these top-level players really come to be.
Yeah, absolutely. We are continuing to see these players make a name for themselves. We've seen it across many RQs. We've seen it now here at the largest regional qualifier that we have seen. We, of course, next week have Atlanta, which is going to, I mean, there are certainly people in America right now, I can imagine, that are furiously taking notes. Oh boy, I need to be practicing the Azir matchup. I need to be practicing the Annie matchup. Throw this Aurelia match. I don't need to worry about that. They're not going to win in the top 8. We didn't see a single one win in the top 8. What's my Azir matchup look like? What's my Annie matchup look like? Give me more scrims of Azir, please.
I tell you what, the most popular guy at every single locals this week is going to be that one Azir player.
Yes.
Whoever's playing, you're going to be like, hey, Helen, you play Azir, right? I need some help. Can you come play? The most popular people are going to be those Azir players who have put the reps in already this week.
I do agree with that. However, I think the most popular players at Nexus Night are going to be the people who have Arises in their trade binders right now, because everyone, myself included, traded those off at the beginning of Spirit Forge. I was never going to play Azir. It wasn't going to happen. And then Pedro goes out and wins the event with Azir, a deck I thought I would never play. Absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing for Pedro. And I gotta say, Amy, I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. Both of the players in the finals, I had winners interviews with earlier on in the event. Just saying, if you win your match and you want to request an interview, you gotta request it with me, because maybe that will lead you to the finals.
Maybe that's the key, who knows? My guys all went on to lose, but I think a couple of them got best of, so honestly, I'm super happy.
Yeah, I can't be too mad about that.
I was so pleased that I got to talk about sets some more with someone as my favorite deck at the moment. And again, it's given me a little bit of hope, although Azir did come out on top, it's given me hope that actually I should keep playing my favorite, and I should keep pushing on, making edits to my deck, seeing how the meta forms out, and actually, I don't know my Azir matchup, so I guess I better get practicing too.
Absolutely. Well, it's a really great point that you bring up, because it's not just, oh, I'm going to go for a metal card, so I'm not going to play it at my Nexus Night, I'm not going to play it at a skirmish. I mean, we saw Azir win the whole event. It wasn't just for a metal card. I talked to the Yi players. They were saying this is the best deck in the format here. This is an absolutely high-tier deck. It is not that I'm just going for a metal card. It's nice that there's maybe the deck population is not too high. Maybe I will get a metal card, but that's not what I'm entering this tournament for. I am entering this tournament to win the tournament, and we saw Pedro do just that.
Phenomenal play, phenomenal moments. We've made memories that will last forever at this one, and memes that will take us through to many a tournament.
Yeah,
honestly.
that is my goal. If nothing else, is to, when we see guards played on camera, we've got to scream it in the crowd. I think we can count on you to do that in Atlanta. It's going to happen. I cannot wait to see it, but we are in the closing hours here as players are leaving the event here. I mean, it's just been such, I know, it's a sad time. It's been a long weekend, but it has been a fantastic weekend, and it is really, like you said, Amy, it's going to be one that I'm going to remember forever.
And if you haven't been to a regional qualifier before, you're missing out for a start. But secondarily, there is much more than just the main event. Even spectators have so much to do. We've had many events on that obviously we haven't even been able to cover. We haven't been able to tune into. We had the Super Nexus Night. You want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. So you like Nexus Night, you like prizes, you like bringing your favorite deck to a giant community event. That's the Super Nexus Night. It is an absolutely fantastic one to play at a regional qualifier. You can, of course, look up your events here, scan that QR code to get information on local Nexus Night, local Summoner skirmishes here. And honestly, that is a really great tool that I've personally used if I'm going to visit someplace, or if I'm like, I just want to go on a little day trip here.
Yeah,
Are there going to be Riftbound events that I can actually travel to? A lot of times there are, even where I'm in, which is in central Scotland, there are stores all over the place that are running Nexus nights. It's really fun to go to.
Honestly, guilty. I'm going on vacation next weekend, and I won't pretend that I didn't have a little look if there was a Nexus night that I could attend while I'm there.
Yes, it's absolutely fantastic. But like you said, there's so much to do at a regional qualifier. Again, we're biased, but I got to say, if you can make it to a regional qualifier, you absolutely should. It is just so much fun, whether you're playing in the main, whether you're playing side events, whether you're playing the big events, whether you're coming here and just hanging out with friends and playing. There's a free play area that is literally full the entire day. You can go up, find people to play with, find people to trade with. There's vendors here. There's just so much to do at an RQ, and it's really like there's something there for everyone. It's really an amazing experience.
I think some of our cosplayers put it best in one of the Barcode interviews, that it feels like a mini Riftbound League of Legends convention.
Yes.
There's so much more than just the main event. We only can show you guys a snippet because otherwise we'd be here all week.
Right. Yeah, it would, I mean, it would be crazy to cover the pre-regional tournament, but it would be kind of cool. I mean, all of us casters were out there, you know, birding the top tables to see, hey, what is going to be played, because we want to see what might be played at the top tables in the main event. And we saw a decent amount of Azir, a decent amount of Rek'Sai. Of course, we saw a lot of Aurelia. We saw a lot of Draven, a lot more Draven than we saw in the top 8, just saying. But, you know, decks like Annie didn't see a ton of Lucian, though we did actually see quite a decent amount on day 2. And that's another thing I completely forgot. I think I didn't get this stat confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it's true. This event had the most diversity of number of legends, different legends in day 2, which is kind of crazy. It's not every event that we've seen every single legend day 2. In this event, not every single deck did, but we saw quite a few of them do it.
And honestly, could we really ask for anything more? Could we ask for better? No, it's absolutely wondrous to be able to see so many different legends, so many different play styles, and so many different people. This was our largest regional qualifier yet, and I have no doubt they're just going to get bigger and bigger from here.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, we've had some behind the scenes. We've been talking to people. We've been hearing the chatter, and everyone says the same thing. We want these events to be bigger. We want them to be better, and that involves you showing up to them and having a lot of fun, because that's the best way. I mean, it's word of mouth, right? Obviously, we're going to talk on the broadcast about how great the events are. I'm saying, I mean, you ask me at an event, I will tell you how great it is, how much fun I'm having. But really, it's people that have gone to events that come back to the local game stores and are like, bro, it was so fun. Like I got the, you know, I farmed at events and I got this metal prize card.
So
I won my Super Nexus night. I met a bunch of new people. Did you know that the people at the other store also went? I didn't even know they were competitive. I thought they just played multiplayer. Yeah, no, everyone was there. It was a huge thing. I was on the bus over here, and there was an entire bus of players from all around and groups of people, like 10 plus people in a group coming in on the bus over just for Riftbound for this event. It was absolutely fantastic to see.
It's also when you're on public transport or when you're waiting in the airport or the train station and you see people dotted around on tables trying to find space to play some games and test, and you're like, it's kind of like play Spot the Riftbound player as you're going through. You're like, oh, I must be in the right place because there's game, there's game, there's game, there's game.
Yeah, and it's also like when you start getting on the planes or the public transport to get here, however you get here, you start seeing backpacks. Like, that backpack looks a little full, and I don't know that you're a student. And do I see Riftbound stickers? Okay, I think I see Riftbound stickers and different tags on there. I know that that's a Riftbound player. I know that's a gamer, and they are going into the RQ. But Amy, I think this is nearing the end here. It has been an absolutely fantastic event. Again, I got to thank you personally for casting with me today. Any last words for yourself here, Amy?
Thank you, everyone, for making this an unforgettable experience. You'll all remain in our hearts and memories.
Yep. Absolutely. We've got a short video here to end it off, but for Amy, for the entire crew here at Regional Qualifier Lille, I've been Blevins, and we'll see ya on the next one.
Never see this coming.